I was coming from being chased.
There was no speeding car following you. They should have been right behind you.
I turned, and I guess maybe they kept going straight.
I guess not.
Yeah.
This is Judy Justice. Andre Skates is suing motorist Melissa LaChapelle for vehicle and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3132, Skates versus LaChapelle.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss LaChapelle, I'm going to start with you because this case is relatively simple. You hit his parked car and moved it from the street where it was by virtue of the force of the hit onto somebody else's lawn.
Yes, ma'am.
And the date that you did that was May 1st of last year. What time of the day?
I believe it was in the afternoon.
What do you mean you believe it was in the afternoon? How many times have you hit a parked car?
My first
Well, then I would know
accident.
what time it was. Approximately what time was it on May 1st?
Around 2, 3 o'clock.
In the afternoon.
Yes.
Where were you coming from?
I was coming from being chased.
Where were you coming from?
Prior to the accident, I was just sitting in a parked car. So I was driving, and I had a conference call come in, so I just pulled over so I don't
You
drive
pulled over
far.
randomly. And parked where?
On Florence and Western.
How far is that from where you hit his parked car?
Maybe about a couple of miles.
Did it take you 5 minutes to get there? 10 minutes to get there? How long were you traveling?
15 minutes.
So you were driving for 15 minutes from the time your car was parked until you got to where you hit his car.
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of car were you driving?
A Dodge Journey.
Was it your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it totaled as a result of this accident?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you're going to tell me the story that you're going to tell me about the circumstances surrounding your hitting his parked car.
Well, on September 16th of 2022, I had a hair appointment. I showed up at my hairdresser, and there was no show, no call. So moving forward, I set an appointment with another young lady in the salon, and I got my hair done. And so when I reached to make the payment to pay her, I came across being scammed. So I explained to
Came
her,
across being...
scam, like someone hacked my bank account for the funds.
Okay, and you have proof of that from your bank?
No, I do not have
So,
that.
so the
My
answer
bank
is,
account.
just a second. So the answer is, you do not have any proof as to the beginning of this story?
No,
Okay.
I have no proof of the bank account being hacked.
Well, but you showed the hairdresser, according to you, that your bank account had been hacked, that's why you couldn't pay her.
Correct.
Well, I'm just asking you for proof of that.
No, I don't have it on me.
So you don't have it?
No.
Well, that's easy enough to get. Your bank account was hacked. We're not talking about 30 years ago. We're talking about a year and a half ago. So you would have had that, if the story you're giving me is true. What's the name of the hairdresser? Have you ever used her since?
No, never.
No. What was the name of the hairdresser that you had an appointment with that you didn't see that day? Have you seen her since?
Not since the incident of wrecking his car. I seen her on that day.
So you haven't seen either the person you were supposed to see or the person you stiffed in September of 2022,
No.
right? And then, allegedly, on the day of this incident, you saw one of them?
Yes.
Yes, as you were sitting in a parked car where you had randomly pulled over to make a conference call. I'm just following the story. And then what you said in your answer was these people started to chase you.
They started to vandalize and attack me in my car first.
So you took off.
Yes.
Now, you had been on a conference call. Did you stop the conference call?
I just
a
dropped
second.
the phone.
The answer is you stopped the conference call.
Yes.
But you still had your phone.
Yes.
And somebody was chasing you, according to you, for 15 minutes in your car where you were with your phone. Just want to know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone was chasing you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a lot of baloney. Okay, so you hit his parked car. And this was a 1981 Oldsmobile Cutlass, is that right?
Yes.
That you had been working on, restoring. Now, when had you purchased it?
I purchased it in
When did I purchase that? It was
Just a second. The questions get harder. When had you purchased it? A month before, a week before, a year before?
2.5 years ago.
When you purchased the car, who did you purchase it from?
I don't have his last name, but I have it in my phone. But his name was Jose, and he was from San Diego, and that's where I purchased it from.
And how much did you pay him for the car?
I paid him $10,000 for it.
And you also have proof of that?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Well, I don't have proof of it. I don't think I brought the bill of sale with me, though. That sucks. I know you needed that. Do I got the bill of sale? No, I don't have the bill of sale. Hold on. Let me see. It's in my phone from that date. Where'd it go?
Yes or no, sir? That's a very easy thing. Don't waste my time here if you don't have a bill of sale in your phone.
I don't have it in my phone.
Okay. Very good. And you don't have it there. Okay.
Andre Skates claims motorist Melissa LaChapelle owes for damages after Melissa struck his classic Oldsmobile Cutlass. Melissa says she was fleeing from a dangerous situation.
Now, you say that you were notified that your car was hit. You were either on your way to or from work. What kind of work do you do?
Security.
And you left your house. I assume it's a private house. Do you rent or do you own?
I rent.
How much do you pay in rent?
$1,000.
To whom?
To the landlord.
How do you pay him?
I pay him through Cash App.
And you were driving to work, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of car do you have?
2008 Jeep Grand Cherokee SRT.
Do you have a note on the car or do you owe it free and clear?
Yes, I do have a note on it.
And you pay for your car payment from a bank account, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'd like to see your bank account where you paid $10,000 for this car.
Oh, you'd like to see it? Oh.
Oh, yeah, I want to see that. Because I assume if I said, could I see a check for the $10,000, you don't have a check.
No, because I pay cash.
Just a second. Well, you don't carry $10,000 in cash because you can transfer the cash just like you do for your landlord.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And you don't want to carry that
your
money.
car payment. So that's the way your generation, not mine, but your generation pay things. They walk over to a machine and they go like this with their phone, and it's paid. So you pay your other bills that way, sir. So you don't walk around with cash. I want to see where you had $10,000 in the bank 2 years ago.
I know you're going to ask me that. Okay.
You want to see a photo?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, Audubon Classics. So tell me how much this is. Oldsmobile Cutlass. Okay.
So they range. There's some that are very expensive, like $28,000 that I've seen that are fully restored. And then there are some, like this one was $22,000. But then there's
This
some,
is the 81, yeah.
Yeah, but then there are some that were not restored that I saw for about $8,000 or $9,000.
Mm-hmm. Not restored.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mm-hmm. While he's looking, you have a copy of the police report?
No, we didn't have a police report because no one was injured.
That's not why you don't have a police report on that kind of an accident. Could have killed somebody.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Skates, let's go. Do you have it or do you not have it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have it. It was 2 years ago, so I got to go all the way back.
Well, you should have had it with you. You're suing her for $10,000. So all I want to see is how much you paid for the car. You say you paid $10,000.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have a bill of sale. I just want to see where you had $10,000 in the bank, and then it was paid out to Jose. You do understand, Mr. Skates, that that would be on you. You have a whole bunch of papers there. You do not have a bill of sale on the car. You don't have any proof of what you paid for the car except your word that you paid $10,000 for it. It's very easy to go back and get those records. We're not talking about 30 years ago.
No.
I know. You got a whole lot of papers there that are irrelevant. And your insurance company, according to you, valued the car at $3,500 and paid you because you did have insurance on it.
Yes.
So all I want to see is what you paid for it.
No, I'm trying to...
Just a second. You have a video of this accident?
Yeah, I do.
Keep looking.
Okay, all right.
Do you have a video of this accident?
Yes, I do.
Play it. I want to see what the car looked like. Play it one more time. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm just looking, by the way, Miss LaChapelle, for the people who were chasing you. Because now you hit the car, they should have been right behind you. They were chasing you, right? I'm looking at this, And now you're all slowed down because you fit a car. I don't see one car pass by there. Not a one.
Correct.
Yes, correct. Of course, it's correct.
I turned, and I guess maybe they kept going straight. And then that's when I had the accident.
I guess not. Okay. Mr. Skates, I want to tell you, your exercise in exploring your phone to find proof that you paid $10,000 for this car is going nowhere. Got it?
Yes.
Now, you insured the car, correct? This old car, because it was going to have value once you restored it.
Yes.
Now, restored, the average price is about $10,000. That's what Sarah tells me, correct?
It ranges, but I could find a couple if you want.
No, it ranges 9, 10, 11. It can go anywhere around that amount, but that's fully restored, right?
Well, restored means like when that's mint condition. Like, 'cause when it's in mint condition, that's how much it would go for, like 9 or 10,000. But the features that were on the car were extra couple little features that people like on those cars, which is the stick in the floor and the T-top features that are on there that people
I have
like on those cars.
no idea, sir. Show me what the car looked like before she hit it.
There we go, right here. This is the one with the rims. Here goes one. Where's the other one at?
Oh, that's good looking. Now, when you bought the car, sir, was it running? Were you able to drive it back from Jose's?
No, I had to get it towed.
So when you bought it, it was not running.
No.
So you didn't pay $10,000 for it.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I don't believe that, sir. There's one car available for sale that's a 1981 Oldsmobile Cutlass that's drivable, that's $5,100, not fully restored. That's today.
That's why I was saying the features that it has on
I
it.
don't care about the features. You bought a non-running car that had to be restored to running so that you could resell it. You hoped for a profit, but there's no way you spent $10,000 on the car, because then if you were putting in all new parts and restoring it, you would never be able to recoup your money.
Yes, you can.
No.
Can I explain? Because I put a lot of money into it, and the resale value once.
Just a second.
Okay.
So far, I don't believe that you paid $10,000 for it, not running. Now you're going to show me what you put into the car.
Okay.
You see, if you told me the truth, sir, and if the insurance company only paid you $3,500, I would have paid you what the value of a non-running car would be, plus everything that you put into it, less the $3,500 that the insurance company paid you for it. So if you have everything that you put into it, the only thing you don't have is what you paid for it. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct on that part.
Okay, so now let me see what you put into it.
Oh.
Andre Skates has accused motorist Melissa LaChapelle of crashing into his classic Oldsmobile Cutlass. Melissa claims she was being chased by another vehicle.
Now, all of your receipts for the car parts that you purchased total $9,393. Less the $3,500 that you were paid by your insurance leaves just for the parts alone $5,893. Even if you paid $5,000 for the car, you're at $10,000. Do you understand?
Yes.
So if you would given me a figure that I understood, because right now you want me to believe that a man who works very hard in security paid $10,000 for the car and $10,000 for parts.
Yes.
And the average range for the car is
Between 9 and 18.
between 9 and 18,000.
Yes.
To buy a restored car, and you've already put in $20,000 in the car before you sold it. And I don't even know if it was ready to be sold. Do you understand?
That's how much I was going to sell it for. It was like $20,000. That's what I was trying to explain.
Just so I understand that. You've already, if you want me to believe, sir, that you bought the car for 10, you're already at 20. So even if you sold the car for its highest price, which is 20, you'd be breaking even. That's not what you bought it for.
Well, no.
You bought it to make money.
No, I bought it to keep it, actually, because it was a sentimental
What?
value. I said I bought it to keep it because this was something that I wanted to have for a while, because this was something that was kind of sentimental to me, because we all used to ride these cars when I was younger, so it was something that I kind of enjoyed and liked, and I wanted to keep it. I wasn't planning on selling it right away once I finished.
How old are you?
44.
So what you're telling me is you remember driving around in this car when you were 2 years old?
No, in my 20s.
You know, I want to introduce you both to the truth. Hello, how are you? I understand who you are. Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Skates, you're owed some money from her, even though you've inflated some figures. She owes you some money. Do you have any reports from the police on this?
I have the vehicle incident report.
I'd like to see it, please. Can I see just the proof from your insurance company, please, of what they paid you out on the car? And her insurance paid you, is that right?
No.
Was your insurance?
Oh, you said my insurance? Yeah, my insurance paid me, not her.
Why didn't you? Hey,
Her insurance didn't pay me.
That's-
put your phone down.
Oh, I have it on my email. Or did
Why
she-
didn't your insurance pay him out?
I didn't have insurance. I was switching my insurance policy to a new company.
Oh,
And I got
so
into
just a
an
second.
accident.
So when there was a traffic report, you told the police you had AAA insurance, because that's what's in the report.
No, they asked me for my information, and that's what I told them.
Well,
But
I said that's what you told them. You told them that you had insurance and AAA was your insurance company.
Well,
and that's a lie.
the paperwork
Just a
that I
second.
had.
That's a lie. You told them that you had insurance and you didn't have insurance and there was no speeding car following you.
I did not tell them I had insurance. I told them the truth, that the same thing I told you.
No, you didn't, because then they would have given you a summons for driving your car without insurance if you created the kind of an accident. Did they give you a summons? No.
No.
Okay. Some piece of work. So your policy limit was $3,500.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Where is the car now?
The car?
It's not an answer. Where is the car now?
In front of my yard.
Okay, so you have it.
Yes.
And this incident took place on May the 1st.
Yes.
Why is it still at your house?
Because I plan on getting another one and rebuilding it.
So you plan on using it?
Well, I plan on using it for parts because I can't do anything else with it.
Or you plan on using it for parts, whatever it is. Do you have a photograph of it?
Yes, I
now,
do.
I'd like to take a look at it.
There's a couple more.
Oh, gee whiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you can use this car. Why don't you just scrap it?
Well, because I was planning on, if I took her to court and won some money, I was going to try to buy another one, rebuild it, use some of the parts off of that one, and try to get my car back, you know? That's just, I mean, it's a big loss for me. But, I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, that's all, only way I can see I can get back, you know?
Okay. Valuing the car at $10,000, which is $9,000 for what you put into the car. I have no idea what you paid for it. You got $3,500. I'm awarding you a judgment, sir, of $6,500 against the defendant. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $6,500. We're finished here. I would have taken your license away.
This court is adjourned.
Because I was running from someone chasing me for my life. It was self-defense.
That she was being chased by some girls, that they stole some hair or something like that. And I was like, well, where are they? We didn't see anybody there. If they were chasing you, why didn't they stop and come and get you? Why didn't you crash? Because that was their time to get you if they were going to get you.
Because the person was not turned down the street as me, so it is what it is.
But then she mentioned it to the judge, but didn't mention it to the police. And she said it to me because I was wondering why you were going so fast down a narrow street with a bump on it. And that's what she said, that some girls were chasing her over some hair.
I am still driving, but not that vehicle. It's total.
It's time to get a new one.
You know, common sense is a great indicator of truth. And I think that if the defendant's story was true, that she was being chased and harassed by these two hairdressers, you have your phone in your car. You laid it out perfectly, that you make a quick 911. You call them and you say, oh my God, these crazy people are chasing me. or none of it ever happened.
Or when you finally cause an accident like that and your car is severely damaged, and there's nobody chasing you.
Yeah.
You stop to wait for the police, and when the police finally come, because she was looking to boot out of there, you say, these women were chasing me, I know who they were.
Yeah.
You would create a police report.
Yep.
Just a whole lot of who shot John. It's unbelievable to me that people can make up interesting stories. In 2022, she had one hairdresser appointment. She had
Very intricate.
Very, very intricate. Nobody has any proof.
Yeah, they never do.
Sometimes they do, but not in fishtails like this.
We were in an actual relationship for 5 years.
He took the dog, and you want the dog back.
Yes.
His anxieties were surrounded by her grandson because of the fact that he would beat him. He sprayed hairspray in the dog's eyes.
You don't make that up.
I don't think he over-disciplined.
This is not a tea party, madam. This is when you have to listen.
This is Judy Justice. Deborah Borelli is suing her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, for harassment, personal property, and her dog, Luca.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case number 3086, Barrio versus Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Borelli, you and Mr. Brown, according to you, had a friend's relationship for about 10 years.
Well, we were friends for the past about 5. We were in an actual relationship for 5 years.
Which 5 years?
The first 5, from 13 to 18.
And you lived together, and according to you, in 2018, something happened, that relationship changed. However, according to Mr. Brown, he continued to reside with you.
Yes, he lived on the couch.
Well, whatever. He continued to reside.
Yeah.
You continued to reside together.
We stayed very good friends, yes.
Very good friends. You stayed together for
Right.
10 years.
Yes.
And then an incident occurred, you separated, and now each of you have a claim that the other has property that belongs to them. That's long and short of this case. One of the items, Mr. Brown, I see that absolutely adorable dog. Will the dog be just as happy on the ground?
I don't know. I will try.
Okay. One of the things at issue is that adorable little dog. So it is your claim that the dog belongs to you, that when you and Mr. Brown separated, it was an acrimonious separation, and that you were forced to sign a document that gave him the dog, he took the dog, and you want the dog back. You also want back from him something called an oculus. Sarah, could you pull up what that looks like for me?
This is what it looks like.
Okay. An oculus is something that you put over your eyes, and it takes you into another world.
Yes.
Is that what happens?
It belongs to my grandson,
Virtual
yes.
reality.
It's just
Well, hold on, what?
Virtual reality, they call it.
Do you use it?
No.
Do young people, kids use it? Is that what it's used
I think
for,
they're
Sarah?
popular. Pretty popular.
Popular.
Yeah.
Your other grandparents use it?
I don't think they'd be able to figure it out.
No. I know these grandparents don't use it. Do you have an oculus?
My son has an Oculus.
And how old is he?
12.
12. Kevin, do you have an oculus?
No, ma'am.
No. Out in the audience there, raise your hands if you own an Oculus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that some people who are adults, not old adults, but adults, do have these toys. You don't use it.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And it is your claim that in addition to the dog, Mr. Brown took the Oculus that belonged to your grandson.
Right.
Mr. Brown said he was given the Oculus because your grandson broke his tablet. And you want a little money for some traveling that she did that she promised to pay you back for. Is that right?
We
Is that right?
Yes.
You want some money for traveling?
Yes.
Okay. So let's deal with the dog first, since that to me is the most important issue. By the way, Miss Burrell, where's your grandson?
back in Buffalo.
Who is this?
His mother and my daughter.
She doesn't live with you,
No,
but the grandson lives with you.
he did. He stayed.
He
with-
did?
He stayed
When
with
you were
me.
together?
He goes back and forth.
And how old is he?
16.
Okay. Because one of the things Mr. Brown says is that the 16-year-old isn't very good with the dog.
Well, the dog, he is a chewer. He's chewed up a lot of my grandson's things.
Luca has chewed up your grandson's things.
Several of his headphones and earbuds, and he's chewed up our shoelaces. And so he tries to discipline the dog, and I don't really discipline dogs.
So you wouldn't necessarily, as a dog owner, discipline your dog the same way as your grandson has disciplined the dog. Did he ever hit him?
I don't think he's hit him hard. I mean, I think he may have tapped him on the butt a couple times, maybe done his nose a couple times. I don't know. He was very frustrated that he was constantly chewing his stuff.
Okay. How old is this dog?
He will be 2 in April.
When you got him, you and Mr. Brown were living together.
Yes.
I must tell you, Miss Burrell, the dog looks very happy with Mr. Brown.
He was very happy with me, too.
May have been. I'm sure he wasn't happy when your grandson was disciplining him different from the way most normal people and adults would discipline a dog. Because Mr. Brown is certainly going to tell me about other instances of discipline that he observed that your grandson inflicted on the dog.
I'm not aware of any
Okay, but
other
you were aware
instances.
enough, Miss Burrell, to tell me that in your home, the dog was disciplined in a way that you would never discipline a puppy, because a dog that's not quite 2 is still a young dog. Some chew things and some don't. All right.
Deborah Borelli claims her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, owes for harassment, an Oculus headset, and the return of her dog, Luca. Osmond is countersuing Deborah for personal property and travel expenses.
Now, when was the dog purchased?
I got him on December 19th, 2022, as a birthday present for my other Pomsky. She's just like him and loves to play. And I have an old Shih Tzu that would not play with her. And then I came across a Facebook post about a woman who was getting rid of a dog that was swimming in her basement. Well, he lived in the basement. And when I contacted her, she said, I'll send you some pictures. And it was a couple pictures of Luca sitting on some stairs. And she said, oh, we went down in the basement the other day, and the basement was flooded, and he was swimming. I said, swimming? And she said, yeah, so we put him on the stairs. And I said, I'll be over.
So you took the
Osmond
dog.
and I went to look at him, and he made my other Pomsky a little nervous. So we went back, and Oz kept saying, you don't need another dog. She doesn't need a friend. She's got toys. You know, I said, I have to do something about this dog. The woman
And
was
Mr. Brown was with you?
Yeah,
Okay. So you went together?
to look. And he said no. So I came home, and I thought about it, and I kept in touch with that woman, and she said, if you don't take him, he's probably just going to go to a shelter. I talked to Oz again. I said, I have to go get this dog. I have to. He's living on stairs.
Okay.
And so I purchased him. He was not happy about it, but I purchased him.
For how much?
$240. It started at $500. I told her I couldn't do it, so.
Okay. Mr. Brown, do you need a tissue?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brown, first, do you recall, sir, going with Miss Borelli to pick up the dog?
Yes.
Were you with Miss Borelli when she purchased the dog?
Yeah, I bought the dog. I gave her the money to purchase the dog.
And where did you get the money from?
I worked
Okay.
at that time.
Does Miss Borelli work?
She worked periodically. I got her 2 jobs for a company that I worked with. They were contractual for 90 days. She did that twice. And then she worked for the census
Okay.
every 10 years.
He would like to go and say hello to her.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Okay. So when you went to pick up the dog, do you remember what month and year that was? Was that in December of 2022?
Yes, it was December of 2022.
And where did you take the money from?
My bank account at work.
Miss Borelli, who took out the money to pay for the dog?
He lent me the money.
Okay, so the answer is Mr. Brown paid for the dog then.
At that day, yeah.
Okay, fine. And when did you repay him for the money?
The following week.
Do you have any proof that you paid him back?
No, but he knows I did.
I didn't ask you what he knows. I asked you whether or not.
We didn't do receipts back then.
Okay, enough. You want to hold on to the dog for a second? Thank you. When you lived in the house for these 10 years, how much was the rent in the house?
There wasn't really rent. I pay a mortgage with my retirement from the post office.
Okay, and how much did Mr. Brown contribute towards that?
He had the gas and electric in his name.
Okay, so the gas.
And it varied.
Just a second, the utilities were in his name.
Yes. I paid the cable, the phone bill for 8 years, the mortgage.
Okay, there is a mortgage. And did he contribute anything towards the mortgage?
Not towards the mortgage, really.
But did he take money out of his bank or write you a check for anything other than the 2 utilities that you've said are in his name that he pays.
Yes, he gave me different amounts.
Okay.
At one time it was 3,
so
4.
the answer is you actually lived in, as he put it, a domestic partnership for those 10 years.
It really was.
Okay, so then let's be fair and easy about it. Now, Mr. Brown, what, if anything, did you observe with regard to Miss Borelli's grandson doing with the dog? By the way, the dog still chewing up your house?
I'm gonna answer both questions, but first I'm gonna answer the chewing of things first. The dog did have a problem chewing things because he had anxieties. His anxieties were surrounded by her grandson because of the fact that he would beat him. I'd sleep on the couch, like she said, for the last 5 years, I've been sleeping on the couch. When her grandson comes, he also sleeps on the couch. But sometimes in the middle of the night, like he's always on his computer doing something. So if he gets angry or something, he takes his frustrations out on the dog. The fact that I'm in the room and I'm sleeping and I let her know these things, she don't really discipline him. She just says, oh, this or oh, that.
Tell me
He sprayed hairspray in the dog's eyes one day and told her that he thought that it was his butt. That's what he told her. He thought he was spraying his butt. Why are you spraying his butt? You don't know his face from his butt, that you gotta spray him in the eyes?
What precipitated that?
I don't know. He's always trying to do things to the dog.
Did you see it?
I heard the spray and I heard the pss, pss, and I heard the dog doing this here with his eyes, so I know something happened.
Just a second.
You smell it, you can see it.
Just a second. Did you confront her grandson about it?
Yes.
What did you say to him?
I said, don't spray this dog in the eyes. I even went and told her he's spraying the dog in the face with eyes. He said he thought it was the dog's butt.
Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, he told her that.
Okay. Yeah, you don't make that up, madam.
He wouldn't have heard the spray. He's in a complete...
What I'm telling you is he wouldn't have made up that story. Miss Borelli, there are lots of stories that you make up. He's not that imaginative. There are a lot of ways that you can say you can abuse a dog, but spraying the dog in the eyes with spray, and then that remark that a 16-year-old wise guy might say, you don't make that up.
I told him a good way to discipline an animal, including a cat that's doing something bad, is you get a spray bottle and you fill it with water.
Yes. Just look at me. Don't look at him. You get a spray bottle and fill it with water, and? And
you can put it on a light mist and you spray them.
But this is not what he did. He didn't spray the dog with water.
I believe that's what he did.
No, that's not what he said. He didn't say spray the dog with water. But now we're getting to the fact that he did, in fact, spray the dog.
With water.
Okay. The dog is staying with him. Period. End of discussion. He paid for it, $240, and unless you have proof that you took out $240 that was paid for the dog...
He loves the dog
just a
so
second.
much. Why is he trying to sell it back to me for $3,000
just a second.
I sold the
Let me tell you something.
Deborah Borelli is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Osmond Brown, of harassment and wrongfully keeping her dog, Luca. Osmond is countersuing for personal property and travel expenses.
By the way, can I see the piece of paper that she signed giving you the dog?
Yes.
The top half was ripped off. There was more writing on the top half of that.
I will let Osmond Brown take my dog, Luca, in order to get Desmond to leave my home forever.
The top half says something completely different than
May I
ripped off.
I'd like to take a look at what you're showing me. This isn't this.
No, I don't have that.
Well, this isn't it.
That shows you that
just
he's trying to sell me the dog back.
If you want to buy it back, you can buy it back.
For $240?
Listen to me. He's got the dog. I will let him take the dog if he agrees to leave. That's what this document says.
Just for the day.
Just a second. That's not what this document says.
Because he's ripped it.
Just a second. You should have made a copy. It's ripped on both sides. Okay. Now, he wants the dog. He paid for the dog. As long as your 16-year-old grandson has access to your house, which you say that he does, the dog is staying with Mr. Brown. If it's his conscience as to whether or not he wants to sell it or not. Right now, the dog looks just fine. And I'm not sending this dog back to where there's a 16-year-old teenager who gets frustrated and takes out that frustration on a dog by over-disciplining the dog.
I don't think he over-disciplined.
This is not a tea party, madam. This is a ruling. This is when you have to listen.
Okay.
Kevin, get the dog and bring it to Mr. Brown.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. There you go, good boy.
Okay, now let's go to the Oculus. Mr. Brown, you have the Oculus.
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't use it. That's what you told me before.
I don't use it. I have.
Just a second. You don't use it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you're going to give it back to the grandson because she doesn't use it. It was the grandson's Oculus. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Now we have a counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that when you had this argument, you left the house and you left some things there.
Yes, ma'am.
The most important thing in this collection, because I'm not getting involved in a collection of 3 sport jerseys or 2 T-shirts. I'm not getting involved with that. But you say you left your watch there. Where did you leave your watch?
It's in her bedroom. I have 3 watches there. One has a pink face, one has a blue face, and one is a Rolex that she gave me that the battery broke.
Okay. You don't mention any other watch but a Rolex.
Yes, ma'am.
And the Rolex was given to you by the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
We were in a relationship.
Was it a birthday or a different event that you gave him the Rolex?
I didn't give him a watch.
Oh, can I see the watches, please? Whose watches were they?
I had bought them for an ex in New York City. We had gone to the Statue of Liberty and we were at Battery Park, and a man opened his raincoat and asked me, did I want watches?
Oh,
And
these
I
are
bought
the 2,
many of
just
them.
a second, and these are the 2 watches that you bought?
Yeah, lots of them.
But these are the 2
$30
men's,
a piece.
But these are the 2 men's watches that you bought?
Yes.
Okay.
So he...
Shh, shh, shh. Would you turn these men's watches over to the defendant, please?
Thank you.
No, they're not his. I never gave them to him.
Thank
Just
you
a
very
second.
much.
I'm giving them to him.
No, you can't. There's 2 of them there. I wanted him... he doesn't even know which one it was, and they're counterfeit.
Oh, just a second. I understand that, counterfeit, madam. You just explained that to me. When somebody comes over to you in Washington Square Park and goes like this, want a real Rolex? I would suggest to you that you know...
I knew they were counterfeit, and I bought them for an ex, and we were going through some jewelry,
Right.
and he saw it,
Okay.
and he said, these are nice Rolex.
Yeah.
They're not both his.
He's getting them both.
Oh, my
Both fake
God.
Rolexes. He's getting both fake Rolexes for which you paid $30. Now, what other expenses do you think she's responsible for?
So we planned a trip to Atlanta with me and her grandson and my mom.
When?
So we were supposed to go on October 28th. It was a non-refundable trip. So once I paid for it. Once I paid for it, she's supposed to pay her $850. She never paid her $850 because when she got her money, she threw me out the house and said she's not going on the trip. So that's when I told her I need that $850 back.
Just a second. You paid the $850 for what?
To fly to Atlanta.
Oh, to fly?
To fly, yes.
To fly?
Yes.
Okay. And that was just on a vacation trip?
Yes.
Okay. Did you go?
Yes.
Who else did you go with?
My mother.
And you flew there?
Yes.
And you knew she wasn't going, so what did you do with her tickets?
I couldn't do anything with her tickets. I left everything there. I told her on the phone she could still go. It's still there for you. You could still go. She said, I don't want to be in the same hotel with you or something like that.
She's not going.
So,
okay, you're taking the dog home. I expect the Oculus to be packed and take it to a post office, box it, and send it back to her grandson. Now, you want it to go to your house? The Oculus, do you want to your house?
But how will I know that he's not going to break it?
You know, because I'm telling him not to break it, to put it in a box and send it back. Do you understand?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, don't break it.
I won't.
He won't. Okay, we're done here. He gets the dog, you get your Oculus. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It's the dog that's worth money, and that's why he wants it, because he's greedy and ruthless.
The only way I felt like I could help this dog is if I got her to sign him over to me so I could leave.
He's going to turn around and sell the dog. So it's going to be a beautiful Pomsky for sale.
No, this dog is part of our family. This dog is loved by 2 families now. He has a bunch of kids that love him and play with him, and either at my brother's house or at my house.
Because I rescued that dog. He did not want me to rescue that dog. That dog had a terrible life until I went and rescued him.
It's almost impossible to separate these domestic partnerships and property and what you spend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have courts set up for divorces,
Yeah.
but you don't for living together as almost marrieds.
Yeah.
But the papers indicated that he took the dog, and there's no question. He didn't say he's taking the dog for one day because she wanted him to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And she said the condition was she would give him the dog if he left the house forever.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the paper.
Yeah.
And her statement that I was just giving him the dog for one day just doesn't fit with that. And he paid for the dog. The dog looks very well taken care of. And she acknowledged that the grandson did in fact abuse the dog.
Sure.
So it was a very easy decision. And the Oculus was made easy, actually, by him.
Yeah.
When I said, do you use the Oculus? He said, no.
Give it back to its owner.
Give it back to its owner. Anyway, living together is never easy when you have to dissect it and divide it
After
at the
the
end of the
fact.
day.
Yeah.
Okay, and you heard a crash in your house.
Shattering, yes.
You went over to wake her up, you were mad, and you broke his window. You'd been fighting with him all day.
I'm guessing so.
The glass wasn't broken when you went to sleep, right?
She was...
I'm not asking you anything. You don't have to be a genius to connect these dots.
This is Judy Justice. John Morrow is suing the defendant, Joshua Lease, for trespassing and vandalizing his home.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Oh, you can.
Case 3111, Morrow versus Lease.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Morrow, your girlfriend's name is Skylar,
Correct.
and that would be Skylar.
Correct.
This young woman's name is Brittany. Brittany was a very good friend with Skylar, and this is Brittany's boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And what I gather was you and your girlfriend on September the 1st had a disagreement.
Something like that.
Do you and Brittany live together?
Yes, we do currently.
On September 1st, were you living together?
No.
When did you move in together?
Not long after the whole incident, probably about a month or so after.
Tell me about the incident that happened that caused Brittany to flee and go to the plaintiff's home.
Sure.
And, Kevin, I would like you to show Brittany to the waiting room outside.
This way, please.
All right, Mr. Lease. Now I'd like you to tell me what happened between you and Brittany on September 1st.
She had gone out drinking with Skylar and Mr. Morrow. I was upset that she went out drinking because we had alternate plans.
Okay, just a minute. Had you been working?
I had worked.
And when you came home, how did you find out that she was out with...
She told me, she said, I went out drinking.
How did you communicate? In
Phone.
By
Via
phone?
Via text.
Just a second.
Back
By
and
text.
forth.
So you came home from work.
Mm-hmm. She said, we're done, we're coming in. It was later on that night. It had to be a couple hours after I took a shower, and said that she was coming over to the house.
To your house?
Because she knew I was upset that she had gone out drinking. She was intoxicated, so I was upset.
Oh, just a second. She said she was intoxicated.
Well, just because of the text message change, you know, you could hear, you know, the drinking. You know, you can kind of tell somebody's getting inebriated.
Why don't you show me the text messages on your phone?
Of our back and forth?
Yes.
I had gotten a new
Everybody
phone.
gets a new phone. Everybody gets
save
a new
it.
phone. You know how long I've had my phone? It still has a button on it.
Still a flip?
Yeah. Find the text messages so that I can see them.
Months.
We have the exact date, September 1st, 2023.
That was of the incident, correct?
Mm-hmm. Kevin, would you have, please, the witness find that communication starting in September?
She would probably have it before I would.
Just a second.
Yep. You have to ask her. Stop that. October 15th.
Skylar, did Brittany communicate with you by text or by phone?
By text.
Okay. While I'm taking the rest of his testimony, would you check your phone, please, to see what the messages are on your phone for September 1st? Would you do that? Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Lees. So you were annoyed because, as far as I believe you testified, you could tell that she was inebriated and getting drunker by her text messages. What prompted her to come to your house?
Because she wanted to see me. She wanted to come over.
She was going to come to your house.
And which she did.
She did? And what time did your girlfriend get to your house?
It was late. It was midnight-ish.
Did she come into your house?
Yes, she came in.
Did you,
we
just
discussed,
a second.
Yeah.
Did you let her in, or did she have her own key?
No, she don't have her own key.
So you let her in?
Yes, because she
Now I want you to start from the point when you let her in the house.
I just was upset with her.
I want you to tell me. Upset is a state of mind. I want you to tell me what she said to you and what you said to her.
She wanted to stay the night. She was obviously, you know, trying to sleep over. And I was still upset. She said, fine, I'm going to John's house.
That's all that happened?
And she said, if you want to come over, you're more than welcome over. I'll be sleeping in the front room.
Okay, so you were upset. What did you say when you were upset to her?
I just wanted space. I was irritated at this point, and I worked.
So you
tired.
said you wanted space.
Yeah.
Now, she was going over to this gentleman's house where her friend was.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an
Yes,
answer.
ma'am.
And she left, and she drove to John's house.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened next?
After she had left, I had left not that far behind her because I was more concerned about her safety. As I sat there, I was like, she shouldn't be driving right now. So as concerned, I left about 10, 15 minutes behind her. And when I got there, I had stopped getting responses. So it was to the point of like, well, what's going on?
Well, this was about midnight. That's what
Yes.
you said. And you
She
went
had left like an hour after. We sat there for a little bit and talked.
Oh, well, you forgot to tell me that.
Yeah.
You sort of forgot to tell me that. You said you wanted space.
I did. I was just over the night and everything. It was a long night at work.
So now we're at 1 o'clock. Because if you said you
My
chatted...
time frames might be off a little bit here.
They
with
better get straight, sir. You've been in court before?
In the past.
In the past.
As a young one.
Okay, so you know it's important that you remember, and you've had some time to remember because according to you, you weren't drunk. You had just come home from work. So you should be clear-headed. So you did chat with her for an hour, tell her how upset you were, and she wanted to stay, and you're all right, then I'm going to John. It happened in a very civilized fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
She can't
I'm
take
sorry.
down uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
Okay. And she stopped responding to you. At some point, when you tried to text her, she was in John's house.
Yes.
That's what you said.
Yes.
What happened next?
And then I got irritated that, you know, she stopped responding. I just said, well, screw it. I should go home. I was getting eaten up by mosquitoes. And she did say, come knock on the window if I fall asleep to wake me up if you want me to come
really?
back over.
Just a second. When did she say that to you? Before or after you told her that you weren't interested in her staying for the night?
She said, if you change your mind, come knock on the window. I'll be in the front room.
She said that by text?
No, in person, in front of my garage as she was leaving.
Do I look stupid? There's no sign here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So you've been texting each other, but that she told you, she said, come and wake me up.
If you change your mind.
By knocking at the window.
Because I didn't want to have sex. I was irritated.
Well, what did you want to have when you went over to his house at 3 o'clock in the morning?
I kind of wanted to apologize for being a...
Okay, so this is what the case is about. He broke the window in your house.
Correct.
And you wanted him to pay for the repair of the window.
Correct.
Got it. Simple as that.
Should be.
Now you can bring in Brittany.
Morrow claims the defendant, Joshua Lease, is responsible for breaking his bedroom window. Joshua says he touched the window, but it did not break.
Thanks. Okay, Brittany, you stand next to Mr. Lease.
Okay.
I have a few questions for you. Mr. Lease tells me that the two of you were not living together on September 1st. Is that right?
Correct.
And that night on September 1st, Mr. Lease was working.
Correct.
What time does he usually get home?
I can't remember the day it is. Normally Tuesday, Wednesdays, he does work 14 hours. Sometimes on Thursdays, he does work 14 hours also, but I can.
Do you remember? I don't want to hear.
No,
I don't want you to open your mouth.
Yes, ma'am.
That night he was coming home later.
Correct.
And you decided to go out with your friend and her boyfriend.
Correct.
What time did you leave?
Around possibly 6 or 7.
Were you staying at Mr. Lease's house?
At the time, I was actually staying with my roommate. I was over her house. I may have stopped at his house just for a few minutes.
He wasn't home?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. So now we're at about 6. You went out for dinner?
Dinner, a few drinks.
And how did you communicate with Mr. Lease that you were out for the evening with your friend and her boyfriend?
I was just letting him know that I was going over to her house and I would be there soon.
And you were communicating with him by text message?
Correct.
You have your text messages for that night?
I tried to scroll back to that night. I couldn't bring up anything because it was so many text messages are in there. I couldn't bring it up. I just kept scrolling.
Okay. So you texted him that you were out for dinner and a few drinks. And what did he say to you in the text?
I can't remember at the time of what.
Was
what
he
we were
happy
saying.
that you were out with John and Skylar?
Well, we had a little disagreement.
Careful. I know everything.
Okay.
I want you to know that I know everything. Was he happy that you were out with John and Skylar?
No.
What did he text you?
He was sending me messages that to not come back until I was ready to come home the next day. So that's what I did.
You didn't go over to his house?
I did go over to his house after we got done going out. I did, yes.
Yes. You went over to his house?
Correct.
And what time did you get there?
I want to say it was around 12 a.m., 1 a.m.
Okay. And what happened when you got there?
He politely asked me to leave, and I tried telling him, like I wanted to try and work it out with him. And he politely asked me to leave again, and I continued to stay there, trying to, overbear him with everything that was going on.
Like what?
Of us arguing, of me going out with them.
What was wrong with going out with them?
No,
look at me. Brittany, I'm asking you a question. What was wrong with going out with your friend and her boyfriend? What did he say was wrong with you going out?
I was too intoxicated at the time.
Is that what he said to you?
I believe so.
Were you drunk?
I was.
Did you drive to his house?
Before
you
we
drive
went
to
out.
his house at
Yes.
12 o'clock?
Yes.
Drunk?
No, I was not drunk.
Well, just a second. You either were drunk or you weren't drunk. You said he was mad because I was too intoxicated, and you drove there. Were you drunk or were you not drunk? Now you're not drunk.
I was drunk. I was
okay.
very
you
much
drove
drunk.
So you drove drunk.
Correct.
And he told you to leave.
He did.
Politely.
Politely.
Just a second.
Politely at first, yes. Politely.
I just want to tell you who you're dealing with. I'm 80 years old, plus one. This is not stupid. How did he tell you to leave?
At first, he nicely asked me to leave. And then I kept going on and on, continuing to ask him if I could stay. And it kept making him upset. It made him upset, which is understandable. I get that. And then what? I told him
you're getting red in the chest. Be careful.
I told him that I would just leave and I would go back to their house and stay.
When he got upset, what happened?
When I told him I was leaving?
No, before you wouldn't leave, when he got upset. Do you remember what you texted your friend Skylar?
No, I don't.
Well, Skylar has it on her phone. Kevin, can I see the...
So this is from lunchtime to...
Well, you had been fighting with him all day. You'd been fighting with him all day. That's what you told her.
I'm guessing so. I don't...
What do you mean you're guessing so? That's what you told her. Am I reading this wrong? You weren't fighting with John.
No.
You were fighting with him all day.
I don't remember anything that I had said.
What's your first name?
Mine?
Yours.
Joshua.
Me and Josh have been fighting all night and day. I really don't want to sit around and think about anything. I've had 2 hours sleep, and that's it. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
She tells you you need clothes. I can see if I have anything in this bag, but I doubt I do. I'm crying. I'm trying to calm down before I get there. Does that sound familiar?
I don't remember.
You're literally dumb. You'll let your man hit you, and you won't call the police. That sound familiar?
I don't remember any of the messages.
Stand up, please.
John Morrow has accused the defendant, Joshua Lease, of breaking his bedroom window. Joshua claims John is overcharging him for a window he did not break.
Did you say to your friend Skylar? He wants to resolve it, and he was saying he would literally give John money to help fix it. He just wants everything dropped because the police were called, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And this is you talking, correct?
Correct.
He was just trying to come wake me up to talk and apologize to me and didn't think when he knocked on the window it was that hard. He said he truly didn't mean it at all and has repeatedly said he's sorry. Is that what you said to your friend Skylar?
Correct.
All righty. And then the response is, Brittany, he wrapped his hand around a blank shirt to punch the window out. He was just knocking. Are you blank kidding me? Are you guys getting back together? And you respond, he said he didn't wrap it up at all. He just said he just had it in his hand and didn't even use that hand. It was the opposite one. And I don't know. I told him things need to be resolved and things need to get fixed. If Johnny could just drop everything, I would be happy. Josh is going to make everything right. Now, how did you know Josh is going to make everything right? Because you spoke to him.
Correct.
And he told you he was going to make everything right with the window. He just didn't want the police involved anymore. I'm listening.
Correct.
All righty. What's the issue, Josh? You went over to wake her up. You were mad, and you broke his window.
The window wasn't broken when I went there.
So your girlfriend's a liar?
I'm not saying she's a liar. That's what I was pressed. They were like, either you're going to...
No. I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking to you about what you said to your girlfriend. She says you told her you're just going to make it right.
Yeah.
You'll make everything right. You just don't want the police involved.
He was upset. I mean, what am I supposed to do? I was trying to make everyone happy. I'm trying to be a peacemaker here with this.
All right. You were awakened, I don't know, it says 3 o'clock in the morning. Is that the time it was?
It was about 4:51 a.m.
Okay, and you heard a crash in your house?
Shattering, yes.
Okay, and what did you do?
The house. Jumped up out of bed. We were dead asleep. Couldn't tell where it came from, so started searching the rooms to see what happened. Brittany came out of her room. We asked her if her window was okay. She said, yeah. So I'm checking all the other windows throughout the house. Can't find anything. Finally, I go into Brittany's room, and there's glass all over the bed she was sleeping in, because the window was right next to the bed.
Now, you remember that? That sound familiar? Brittany, pay careful attention. I have the phone. Does it sound familiar that there was broken glass in the room where you were sleeping?
Correct.
All right. Perfect. The glass wasn't broken when you went to sleep, right?
She was...
I'm not asking you anything. The glass wasn't broken when you went to sleep, was it?
Correct.
You remember Johnny coming down to look to see what the noise was? Yes. You remember Johnny coming down in the early morning to see what had happened?
Yes.
Do you remember him going into your room?
Yes, but that was after, we searched the entire house.
He searched with you. And then when he went into your room, where you had been sleeping, I assume, the window that was broken was in your room.
Correct.
All righty. You don't have to be a genius to connect these dots. I have a great-grandchild who's going to be a year old tomorrow. He could connect these dots. How much did it cost to fix the window?
The replacement window was $81.20.
You have the...
I do. It was 2 payments in yellow.
$2,081.
Correct.
Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. You better rethink this. I'm telling you, you better rethink it. For your own sake, you better rethink it.
This court is adjourned.
I didn't break the window. And $2,100 for a window in Florida, that's not impact proof. That's insane.
I think the judge was very fair and could see through their lies and their story of what happened that night.
Just a casual knock, and maybe my bracelet hairline fractured it, but I didn't break that window when I left there.
Yeah, well, it was definitely broken. We have pictures and video of it as well.
I'm happy it's behind me. It's outrageous, $21.80 for a window. That's unheard of.
I think instead of running around breaking windows at 4 a.m., he should probably get a second job so he could afford his actions.
It should be bulletproof for that price.
Thank you, Judy Justice.
Thank you.
So to all the young ladies out there, there are warning signs. And sometimes the need to nest, which most women have, obscures your good judgment. But if you have to flee somebody once, it should be the only time.
Sure. Even if they get annoyed at you going out for dinner and drinks with your friend and her boyfriend. Or partner, you know, red flag. That's the first one.
That doesn't jive with, I came home from work, 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was tired. I worked 14-hour day. And then you're up 4 o'clock in the morning because you've been texting back and forth, which both people conveniently couldn't find. Interesting that the witness could find it. But she seems like a mild young lady, Brittany.
Shouldn't be with someone who breaks windows by accident.
And who's familiar with courts.
Yeah.
So beware.
Yeah.
They sometimes need to nest shouldn't interfere with your own gut reaction. Somebody.
Yeah,
anyway,
I agree.
I hope she's smart.
Hopefully it works out.
Life.
He told me that he had a car available for me to purchase. I had to have it towed because it broke down.
You did vandalize the car, sir, when she stopped making payments on it?
Well, I
What, do you have to think about that?
she's been driving it.
No, that's...
The defendant's counterclaim is the balance on the car.
And lost wages.
I should charge myself for lost wages from having to endure this case.
This is Judy Justice. Tammy Joseph is suing car seller Jonathan Holmes for the return of a down payment, vandalism, tow fees, and lost wages.
All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3124, Joseph versus Horn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Joseph, you purchased a used car from the defendant. You started to have some car trouble with it within the first week or so. You want your money back. And you bought this car from him in November.
November 21st.
Mr. Holmes wants the balance that you owe him on the car.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
What year car is it?
2004.
So it's a 10-year-old car.
20-year-old car.
A 20-year-old car. Did you see an ad for it?
No. He was an acquaintance, and I had wrecked my car, and he told me that he had a car available for me to purchase.
How was he an acquaintance of yours?
Just from my place of employment. He was a customer in my place of employment.
You had this 20-year-old BMW.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
When did you buy it?
About 5 years ago.
From whom?
A gentleman in town.
Did you know the gentleman that you
No,
bought
ma'am.
it from? How much did you pay for the car?
I paid $5,500 at the time.
And you sold her the car for $3,000.
That's correct.
And you gave him a $1,000 deposit.
Correct.
And agreed to pay the rest in installments.
Correct.
There was a purchase and sale.
Yes. I also paid the $1,000 plus I paid another $500 because that was the agreement. $500 until paid off.
$500 a what? A month.
Yes, correct. I paid him $1,000, and then 5 days later I paid him that $500, and then the agreement was the $500 a month.
So far you paid $1,500 for the car. And when did you start to have trouble with it?
9 days after I bought it.
So you drove it for 9 days.
Yes.
And what happened on the 9th day?
I had driven it around town, and then I...
By the way, is there a bill of sale for this car?
We never made one.
Okay. Did you get the title?
No.
Did
because
you?
I wasn't supposed to receive the title until the car was paid off.
Did you have insurance on the car?
No.
Did you have insurance on the car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
At the time she drove it, you had
No,
insurance?
at the time I sold it to her, but I took the insurance off. And she never gave me another $500. She only gave me $1,000, and then she gave me $200 towards that $500. So it's probably $1,200 total.
So at the time you were driving the car, you had no insurance?
Correct, but I wasn't driving it around.
I don't care if you were driving it to get your mail.
Right.
You were driving the car. You already told me that you drove the car in your complaint.
Right, I did drive
Around.
the car. I did drive it to the DMV to see if I could get it registered, what the costs were going to be to have it registered. But I never got it registered because I never got a smog. I couldn't get a smog because the damages that were on the vehicle.
Did you ever take the car to be smogged?
No. There was too much damages. There was so much that I had to do.
So the answer is you didn't take it to be smogged?
No, I did not.
When you purchased the car from the defendant, did it have an up-to-date registration?
No.
Is that right?
That's correct, ma'am.
How long was it since it had been registered?
I want to say 2-3 years.
Well, then you didn't have insurance on it if it wasn't registered.
No, well, I still had insurance.
Just be very careful. Just be very careful what you say to me. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
If it wasn't registered for 3 years, it didn't have insurance.
Right.
Am I correct that he told me it had insurance, but that he took it off?
Yes, he said he did, but he took the insurance off. He sold it to her.
Okay, so that was not true. What, do you have to think about that?
No, I'm just trying to figure out if my wife usually takes care of the insurance stuff, so I'm not sure if it was on there. I know we've had some vehicles on there that we weren't driving before previous.
Do you know what you just said? You want me to have to read back what you just said?
I know what I said.
Sounds like a lot of gibberish. What you just said to me, it sounds like a lot of gibberish.
Well, I do off-road racing, so some of them I keep. I might not be registered, but I have insurance on just in case something happens.
Off-road racing? You went off-road racing in this 20-year-old BMW?
No, not in that one. I'm just saying previous vehicles I have, so.
I don't care about previous vehicles.
Gotcha.
We're not here about previous vehicles. We're here about this car.
Yes, ma'am.
So now both of you have this car with no insurance, and it hadn't been registered in 3 years, and you don't have a bill of sale.
That's correct.
And you've had the car in your possession from November 26th to December, December to January, January to almost 3 months.
I've been trying to give it back.
No, you haven't tried to give it back. You want to sell it back to him. There's a difference. Giving is giving. Selling it back and wanting your money back are two different things, right?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, we're going to get all the warts out, because when we get all the warts out, it's going to come down to a very simple question. Right now, both of you were driving around in 2023 in an unregistered, uninsured vehicle, right?
Yes.
Right?
I'm no longer driving it. I have not been driving it.
You have not been driving it?
No, I have not been driving it.
Where is the car currently?
At my house.
Has it always been in your house since you purchased it?
No.
Okay.
I had to move it because he flattened the tires in my driveway.
Just a second. So you moved it?
Yes.
You moved it where?
Around the corner to my friend's house.
So you moved it?
I did.
Unregistered?
Yes.
Unlicensed?
Yes.
And you want me to buy that, correct? We'll get into this business with him vandalizing the car. You did vandalize the car, sir, did you not, when she stopped making payments on it?
I wouldn't call it vandalized.
Just a second. You vandalized the car.
Tammy Joseph claims car seller Jonathan Holmes sold her a damaged vehicle and refuses to return the deposit. Jonathan is countersuing Tammy for the remaining car payments.
Now, did you touch the car?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How did you touch the car?
Took the battery out of it.
That's vandalizing the car. And why do you think you can do that?
She hadn't paid me any payments. And
Did you tell her you could do it because it's your car?
I told her I still own the car due to the fact I still have the title, and she hasn't paid me any payments, so I wanted to make sure she wasn't gonna...
So you could do it to the car because it was your car?
Correct. That's what I stated, sir.
Quite a pair. I think they actually deserve each other. Okay, so you've had possession of the car for 3 months. According to you, you paid for half the car, right? When you purchased the car, it was 15 years old. Is that right?
About right, yes, ma'am.
You're familiar with cars?
Enough to do the basic stuff on them, yes.
Miss Joseph said that the odometer on the car was turned back.
I did not know at the time. Me and her discussed that when she found that out, and she agreed with me that she knows. I didn't know that. I was not aware of that. I didn't do a car fax.
I'm not following you. Are you following him? I'm
hardly.
When she had found that out, she had notified me of it. I told her I was unaware. I did not know it. She had to grab a Carfax to find it out, and I didn't grab a Carfax when I had purchased the vehicle originally.
Carfax would tell you that.
Yes, ma'am.
You have any proof?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Joseph, pay attention to my question. You have any proof that the defendant turned back the odometer on the car?
Other than the Carfax report, no. I mean,
Well, do you have the Carfax report from the time he purchased the car?
Yes.
And how many miles was on the car when he purchased it? Not when you purchased it, when he purchased it. He didn't buy it new.
All right, can I look, because I don't remember. I know it said 176,000 when he purchased it. Right now it says 123,000.
Oh, can I see that?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Because you would agree, Mr. Holmes, you know, you're a smart man, that if you purchased it and there were 176,000 miles on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And if when you sold it to her, there were 126,000 miles on the car, that would have been someone on your team turned back the mileage. That's common sense, sir. I'm not a wizard. I'm not a wizard.
Right. Yes, Your Honor, you're absolutely right.
You know, I married my first husband when I was 21, and I married my second husband when I was 16 on my marriage license. Somebody could do that math, right? In 2018, I see the mileage on the car was 111,000 miles, right?
Correct.
And when you bought it?
123,000.
Well, that would be right.
Okay, before that, if you look a little farther back, it's 176,000.
Well, that means that he didn't turn it back. He bought the car in 2018. So I asked you, what proof do you have that he turned the mileage back? He didn't get the Carfax. Duh. But when he got the car, it showed 111,000 miles when he purchased it.
I gave him the same Carfax report when I obtained it.
Look, in 2014, he didn't own the car. It had 176,000 miles on it. Then the next sale of this car was in July of 2018 when he purchased it. Because you've had it, you said, about 5 years?
Yes,
well, it's a little bit longer than that. But when you purchased the car, it had 111,037 miles on it. That's what it says. New owner reported. Everybody should get one of these things. That's really fascinating. And in 2010, it had 122,000 miles on it.
Right.
He didn't turn it back then. He didn't own it.
I never said he turned it back. I was just showing him that the Carfax odometer had been rolled back. That was another reason.
That's why you're supposed to get the Carfax before you buy the car, madam, not after.
You're right. I was never even aware of Carfax until my friend Christina had told me about it when we had to have it towed to my house.
That's certainly not my fault.
No, I'm sorry.
That's not his fault. That's not his fault.
The problem that I'm having is 9 days after I bought it, I had to have it towed because it broke down 40 miles out of town. When he assured me it'd be a good running car, I bought it for my daughter.
He's selling a 20-year-old car for nothing.
But I'm not even able to have it smogged. There's so much damage to the emissions. It would cost $6,000 to have it even brought up to smog.
I understand that. But that's what happens when you buy a used car, when you buy a 20-year-old car.
I trusted that he would tell me.
The answer is, unless you want a guarantee, which you get in writing, you buy a used car, you buy it as is. That's the answer.
But
what?
Sorry, Your Honor. I have older BMWs that I use for parts, and I told her for the first 90 days
What do you mean you have old BMWs that you use for parts?
I have bought previous BMWs that I've used for parts, just whole from a junkyard, and
where do you keep them?
I keep them at my cousin's. My cousin's property out there.
Oh, I have to tell you, I have very little sympathy for either one of you. You drove around a car and you've been driving it for 2.5 months, or for 2 months, certainly enough to get it around without insurance and without registering the car.
I moved it from one point to another point because he said he was going to take it from me.
Then you sue him for taking the car. But you don't drive it from one place to another to hide it from him and then not pay for it.
I would love to give it back to him.
But he offered to take it back.
But he's not going to give me my money back?
No, he said he would give you your money back, but he would take off for the time that you actually had possession of the car. Isn't that what he said to you?
Yes,
Just a second. Well, that's a pretty good deal.
On the 5th is when I told him I didn't want it.
I don't care what you told him, madam. You're not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to anything. It's your car. If the defendant, who's slick, said, I'll take the car back and I'll give you back your money less the time that you had the car in your possession, that I didn't have it, which sounds like a fair deal. If he says you gave him $1,200, not $1,500, unless you have proof that you gave him $1,500. Do you have proof that you gave him $1,500?
Just in text messages between both of us.
Well, I'd like to see that in the text messages that he acknowledges you gave him $1,500.
He also said that he would pay me back $950.
You buy a 20-year-old car unless you have a guarantee for that car. You buy it as is. If it breaks down a half a block away from his house where you bought it, it's still your car. Do you understand?
I guess so, yes.
Now, Mr. Holmes said he told you that he had other BMWs because there's something going on. He acknowledges, he said to you, for 90 days, if it needs parts, I'll give it to you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Did you know what parts it needed?
Tammy Joseph has accused car seller Jonathan Holmes of selling her a damaged vehicle and lying about the mileage. Jonathan is countersuing Tammy for the remaining car payments.
Did you know what parts it needed?
No.
Well, if you didn't know what parts it needed, that's the only guarantee he gave you. For the first 90 days you own the car, he will replace the parts if parts need replacing. He'll cannibalize it from old cars that he's got on a junkyard at his cousin's property.
Your Honor, may I say, can I
All
say-
I want to see is his acknowledgement of $1,500. Do you have it?
No.
Good.
He wouldn't make any kind of connection with her whatsoever.
I don't care. He doesn't have to make a connection with her. She bought an as-is used car.
He told her that he would give her back $1,000. Then he didn't show up. Then he said, I'd give you back, it's 12, okay? He just kept blowing her off and blowing her off. And said that he was going to meet with her, and then he never did. So he kept telling her that he was going to give her money back. He just didn't go through with it.
No. What she says is, I told him to refund my deposit, and I would give the car back. He said, even though he was the one who committed a crime by tampering with the odometer. That's what you say. Well, there's no proof that he tampered with the odometer. That was an owner 10 years ago who tampered with the odometer. Instead of being civil, he came by my house and he let the air out of the tires. Did you do that, sir?
Yes, I
Say
did.
yes. And stole the battery. And you put in a new battery.
I put in the battery for my old car, yes. So I could move it into my garage so it'd be safe, yes. I did do that.
I thought you said you... I thought you told just a second. Am I correct that she said she moved the car around the corner to a friend's house, not into her garage?
Around the corner
Just
to my...
don't speak.
Yes, around the corner to my friend's house.
That was the second time I did that, yes. I did do that. The first time I pushed it into the garage.
What was the offer that you made to her, Mr. Holmes? What was the offer that you made to her with
Regarding once that we found out about
car.
the vehicle?
Yes.
I told her ultimately that I would drop the car payment down to $2,000 total and give her an engine that I had, as well as the parts that she needed for the vehicle.
Let's go slowly. Would you read back what he just said to me? I told her that I would drop the car down to $2,000. $2,000. Which means if she gave him $1,200, which is what he acknowledges, right?
Right.
That means she would owe another $800 on the car. Is that correct, Mr. Holmes?
That's correct.
And you'd give her the parts that she needed.
That's correct. I have the text here.
I'd like to see
There's
it.
some explicit
Kevin?
language in there, but...
Kevin. Would you tell me what this $375 is? I'll give you the $375 back and you take the car back if you don't want it?
That was when I told her that we'll figure out how much it would be for her having the vehicle for a whole month. And so I told her rental cars are about $50. I said, I'll charge you $25 a day for how long you had it. And so that comes up to about $375 left of overall what you would have from what you paid me at deposit. And I can give you that if you give me the car back.
Okay. What are you willing to do for her today, sir?
Nothing.
You wanted to keep the car.
I want her to give me my money back for the vehicle. She's been driving it. I have videos showing her driving it just 2 days ago.
Were you driving the car 2 days ago? Okie dokie. Let me ask you this question. If you were driving the car 2 days ago?
Yes, ma'am.
If he has video of you driving the car 2 days ago, what do you think I'm going to do?
You're probably going to rule in his favor.
Correct. Were you driving the car two days ago?
It's been sitting in my garage.
I have videos
It's been sitting on my drink.
30 days before then.
You said this was 2 days ago.
Yes.
I'd like to see it. Is that the car?
Yes, it is.
Who's that getting into the car, Miss Joseph?
That's me, but that's not 2 days ago.
That's the Stater Brothers parking lot in town where we live.
Where are you parked? In what kind of spot?
Grocery pickup in Stater Brothers.
Yes.
That's Monday, February 12th.
Yes, ma'am.
No, that was, I was not, yes, I was at Stater Brothers, but that not on February 12th. My car has not moved in weeks.
Yeah. Miss Joseph, your complaint against the defendant...
My car won't even run, actually.
Your case against the defendant is dismissed. I don't believe you that you haven't driven the car. I believe that you've driven the car without it being registered and without it being insured and certainly without it being smogged.
Yes.
The defendant has a counterclaim, and the defendant's counterclaim is the balance on the car.
And lost wages.
Forget your lost wages.
I understand.
I should charge myself for lost wages from having to endure this case. She gave you $1,200 for the car?
That's correct, ma'am.
Which means she owes you $1,800.
Yes, for $2,000.
Judgment on the counterclaim for $1,800. We're done here.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I didn't think it would turn out this way. I thought he'd be a man of integrity.
I think she was fair in her decisions.
There's nothing I can do with the car. It won't pass smog. I can't put my 16-year-old daughter in it, and unsafe to drive.
The way I tried to make it right was drop it to 2,000, give her an engine and the parts that she needed for it still, and she still didn't want to do so.
He did small repairs on it to make it seem like it ran well.
I think I sold her a car that definitely was manageable, and I think I was fair in telling her for the first 3 months that, you know, she'd get parts for it if a part went out.
40 miles into driving it, it overheated, and it was been bad ever since.
I think she'll be happy that she has the title, and hopefully she finds somebody that can fix the vehicle for her.
I thought it was common knowledge that when you buy a used car, you know, there's a stereotype of the used car salesman, and they're not always as honest as they could be, and you're not buying a brand new vehicle, and always do your homework and things like that. I was actually shocked at how shocked the plaintiff was that there were some issues with, like you said, this 20-year-old car that she was getting for close to nothing.
What about this Carfax? You know, I'm actually amazed at what they look like. I've never seen one.
I've seen a few. There's a lot of information you could find there, which is why they tell you to do it,
before you buy
buying a used car. Right. Because some people are not as honest about the history of the car that you're purchasing, and so it's a good way to keep track. So again, timeline, little messed up, should have looked that up before. But buyer beware. Like you said, you're buying an as-is used car unless you have a guarantee in writing. And she actually made out pretty well here today, given the fact that legally she had no recourse for anything, for any money, for any fixing
No, he
the car.
was entitled to much money on the car.
Yeah.
That Carfax I find fascinating. You know, I haven't bought a used car in many years, but I did buy in my time used cars, and always had a little bit of trouble with it.
Would have been nice to have.
But that Carfax that said 10 years ago, it had 110,000 miles on it. And then it went to 176 and then back down to 120. It's fascinating, the amount of information that they keep on every vehicle. Just amazing. So the car was stolen?
Yes. We were separated at the time. He knew I was coming back to drive across country because we were arguing a lot.
Did you have any indication that she was leaving you?
Yes.
So while she was away for that 1 week,
Yes.
her car was stolen?
Yes.
This is Judy Justice. Erin Dean is suing her ex-husband, Dennis Dean, for an unpaid car loan and negligence.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3122, Dean versus Dean.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Dean, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for a car that was stolen as a result of his negligence.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so let's start with, you and Mr. Dean were married for the first time in what month and year?
July of 2013.
You and Mr. Dean were then divorced.
That is correct, Your Honor.
In what year?
December 12th, 2019.
You and Mr. Dean were remarried.
This is correct.
What month and year?
October 1st, 2022.
And you separated again, and that marriage was annulled in what year?
August in 2023.
Now, you purchased a car.
Correct.
In what month and year?
October of 2019.
While you were married?
We were separated at the time. We were not living together.
But you were married?
Correct.
So this automobile was purchased during the course of your first marriage?
That is correct.
Do you have a copy of your divorce decree?
Yes, I do.
And does that divorce decree award you the automobile?
Yes, Your Honor, it does.
I'd like to take a look at it. So you were awarded in the divorce the Jeep Cherokee.
Correct, that is correct.
And then you remarried October of 2022.
That's correct, Your Honor.
The Jeep Cherokee, which is the subject of this case, was stolen on what date?
From what Dennis told me, he realized the car was stolen on December 19th, 2022.
While you were still married?
Correct.
Now, you were remarried in October of 2022.
Yes.
And where did you live?
In Pasadena.
What address?
780.
And you both lived there together?
Yes.
Had you lived there before, during your first marriage?
No.
Had you lived there while you were separated?
Yes.
When you remarried and you were living at 780, was the plaintiff living with you?
Yes.
So she moved into your residence?
Yes.
So far, is that correct, Ms. Dean?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And you had no other residence?
No.
So you moved into 780?
That's correct.
Mr. Dean, until what date did Miss Dean live at 780, month and year?
January of 2023.
That is false, Your Honor.
Just,
Okay.
I'm not asking you anything.
Okay.
January of 2023. And what happened in January of 2023, sir?
She moved back east,
East to where?
North Carolina, while we were still married.
Okay. The car was stolen in December.
Yes, December 14th.
December 14th, so several weeks before she left.
Yes.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding the car being stolen. First, she was going back east,
Yes.
and she asked you to take her to the airport?
Yes.
Just a second. Did you drive her to the airport?
Yes, I did.
On what date?
It was a week prior to the car being stolen, which was December 7th, 6th or 7th. She asked me to take her to the
Mr.
airport.
Dean, when you took her to the airport, what car did you take her with?
In the Jeep Cherokee.
Did you have another car?
Yes, I did.
Why did you take the Cherokee?
Because it was big enough to put all her luggage in.
So she asked you to...
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you left for the airport, where had Mrs. Dean spent the night before?
At our residence.
At your residence,
Yes.
together?
Yes.
And what was the reason that she was going back east?
To visit her friend in Houston.
Before she went to visit her friend, and you were living together as a married couple.
Yes.
Had she given you, or did you have any indication that she was leaving you?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
We had prior disagreements as far as where we wanted to live. She wanted me to move back east. She wanted to have another child, which I didn't feel comfortable with.
Did you have a child together?
No.
Who has children?
We both do.
From prior relationships?
Yes.
Okay. So you had been arguing?
Yes, it was.
Just.
Oh, okay.
You had been arguing. The night before she left, you were still sharing the same residence?
Yes.
So you took her to the airport in her Jeep?
Yes.
At her request, because it fit all the luggage. And then after you took her to the airport, what did you do with the Jeep?
I parked the Jeep in a gated parking in my residence.
How long was she away?
About a week.
When she was coming home, who picked her up at the airport?
I was supposed to.
And did you pick her up at the airport?
No, I did not, because she says that she wasn't coming back because her car, I had told her about her car being stolen. And then I told her that once I found out that it was stolen, I got a police report done.
So while she was away for that 1 week,
Yes.
her car was stolen.
Yes.
And it was stolen from where?
Under the gated parking of my residence.
It was in the gated parking?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it.
Here it is. Police report.
Okay. So the car was stolen.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now I got the dates and I got everything. And the car was stolen and?
The car was stolen due to his negligence.
No, you say negligence. The car was stolen out of a gated area. First of all, even if it was stolen as a result of his negligence, you don't get your money.
Dean claims her ex-husband, Dennis Dean, is responsible for car payments after the vehicle was stolen due to his negligence.
Let me ask you this question. I'm going to maybe phrase it differently. My husband is trying to be helpful, and there's a leak in the faucet in our kitchen that has just been redone. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, I have to call somebody to fix this little leak. It's dripping, and I don't want it to get any worse. And my husband said, you don't have to call anybody. I have my toolkit right here. I'm going to fix it. He's a lawyer. He doesn't know about plumbing. But he goes under the sink and he jiggles and jaggles and turns things, and there's a flood. And it not only floods out the kitchen, but it floods the apartment below. And I say, get out. I don't want to know you anymore. You're always doing things like this. You think my husband's responsible if the house is in my name? Get out of here.
Can I explain my situation and what happened, Your Honor, please?
You can. So now you have about 2 minutes to tell me Your theory of the case.
When he did take me to the place, I did tell
Not
him,
the place, to the airport.
To the airport. I did tell him not to move my vehicle, not to drive my vehicle. He moved my vehicle because he has an unregistered vehicle that is in the previous divorce decree. And he uses that vehicle, he switches out his Infinity plates to drive that vehicle to and from work. I told him not to move my vehicle because I know he likes to move that car, so he told the police officers who rides back and forth the street doesn't see it.
That's not true.
And when he moved my vehicle, he left the keys inside my car. My car cannot start without a push start. So he took out the garage opener, and the reason why is because they were doing maintenance work at his apartment complex at the time where the gate was left open overnight. That's how my car got stolen, because the lady who did take my car, she had access to easily get inside of it, and the keys were inside my vehicle to where she was able to steal it.
Think about my husband, who I'm fighting with all the time, fixing the sink and causing a flood in an apartment or a house that is mine. I can't sue him. But it sounds to me, from what you tell me, that you knew he had been playing around with license plates while you were still together. That's what you just told me. That's what he does.
No, that's not true.
Listen to me, sir. It may not be true, but that's what you just told me.
It's in text messages, so that's true.
That's what you just told me.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. You have no case against him. It's unfortunate that your car was stolen and it was found, I understand?
Yes,
but it was found
totaled.
Total, yeah.
Well, that's not his fault. Case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I told him not to drive it, not to move my car, because I know that's what he did. He did it anyways. My car got stolen.
I didn't leave the key in the car. Actually, I had put it in my bag and took it upstairs, but she just went with that because that's all she had on.
I just hope that I never have to see him again.
I just want peace and just to be left alone and get back to my regular life.
Can you imagine how the courts would be flooded with lawsuits if married people could sue each other for negligence?
Be more backed up than it is right now?
Oh, it would put a complete stop to the justice system.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't even think that in this case he was negligent. I mean, there was debate as to whether or not he left the keys in the car. That could be viewed as a little bit negligent.
But they were a married couple who cohabited together until a couple of days before the car was stolen. And the place where he lived, evidently, which was under construction, somebody left the gate open. Well, that's the person who she ought to sue for leaving the gate open, which allowed her car to be stolen.
Sure.
Not her husband.
Agreed.
Ridiculous.
Case 3115, Brockett versus Carrillo. All parties, please come forward.
Caregiver Cyan Brockett is suing her former client, Catherine Carrillo, for unpaid wages, verbal assault, and lying to her employer.
Miss Brockett, it's your claim that the defendant owes you money because she refuses to sign a time card for you. And your vocation is you are a home health aide paid by the state. How long have you had a home health aide?
Since 2018.
I believe that you indicated in your answer that you have MS?
Yes, I do.
How long have you had MS?
Since I was 42, I was diagnosed with it.
How old are you now?
65. A while.
Long time.
I walk to try to keep my strength and muscles going in my legs.
Good for you.
Yeah.
How long have you had the home health aide?
The service was provided to me by disability through Social Security, and that was since 2018.
And when did the plaintiff take you on as a client?
From February 23rd to March 24th, when I terminated her.
And which time cards of hers? Because you have to sign a time card, correct?
I get an email that says a time sheet has been submitted by Cyan Brockett. So the first 2 weeks I approved, which I even did with hesitation because she wasn't doing the work that she was hired to do.
But you signed it?
It's electronic signature.
Okay. But you didn't fire her after 2 weeks?
Because she kept promising that she would make up the hours to me.
How many hours a day was she supposed to spend with you?
It was 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And she would come and sit down on my sofa and she would start texting and receiving phone calls and talking. And then one time she said, oh, Access didn't pick up my mom, I gotta go. I'll make this up to you later. And she got up and left.
Okay, so that was, don't speak. So that was one time.
That was one time.
Okay.
And another time she was texting a lot. I go, there's work that needs to be done that you agreed to do, and we need to get it done. And she goes, oh, I'm having a birthday party for my niece. And she showed me a picture on her phone of a cake with the Chanel, the 2 C's on it. And she goes, I'm paying for this for my niece. I got a lot of planning to do for her party, so I have to go. And I said, but what about the work that needs to be done? She goes, well, I could always come on the weekend and do it. So she never did do the hours.
Okay, so that's 2 times out of 2 weeks, and that's Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Well, that's the first 2 weeks. What happened in the second 2 weeks?
Well, I had to go to the pharmacy, and I said I needed to pick up my medication. And then I went in the pharmacy to get my medication. She stayed in the car, and I went and got back in the car, and she came and dropped me off. She said she had to go to her next client. And I said, it hasn't even been 45 minutes. And she said, yeah, well, I'll be back tomorrow. And then she didn't come back the next day, and I was calling her, and she didn't even answer her phone.
Okay.
Giver Cyan Brockett claims her former client, Catherine Carrillo, owes for unpaid wages.
Now, what time is she due at your house?
She was supposed to be there at 9, from 9 to 2.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Are you telling me that you always got there at 9?
Yes, I am.
Every day that you were there?
Every day. Until March 24th, when she asked me to come at 9:30, which was a Friday.
Why did she say to come at 9:30?
Because her and her friends were going to walk at Apollo Park, and that she wanted to exercise and be with her friends. So instead of coming at 9, could I come at 9:30?
Do you remember that?
I remember that conversation and that particular instance, but I did not ask her to come at 9:30 because my friend would leave to go for her walk at Apollo Park with some other friends at 6 in the morning. So I was going to be back at 9. And I even told her I would be back at 9. And I was back before 9, and she never came at 9.
What time did she come?
At 9:30, I was still waiting for her. And then I got a call from her. I guess it was about 9:45. And she said that she came and she had been there and she waited over a half hour for me, and then she left. And I asked her, why did you leave when you're supposed to be with me 5 hours a day anyways? And I told her I was back, and she told me that I wasn't back, and I was.
Does she have access to your apartment?
No, she was waiting outside in her car, according to her.
Okay.
And I have text messages to prove it was not 9 o'clock, it was 9:30. And she didn't get back until 10.
Okay, if she got back at 10, how far do you live from her house?
I wasn't even at her house. I was at another client's house in the same senior living. And she knew that, so all she had to do was call me, and I would have been at her house.
On March 24th, you say, Catherine texted me, your first name is Catherine.
Yes.
And said she was now at home. I told her it was not my job to wait around for her.
Right.
Well, it is your job if you want to get paid for that day.
I'm not asking to get
Just
paid
a second. So
Yes,
you're not
right.
asking to get paid for that day?
No, I'm asking to get paid for the other days that I worked up until that day.
Okay. Well, the 24th, but you left on the 24th.
Yes.
So what days are you asking to get paid for?
March 16th to March 23rd.
Would you show me a calendar? How many days was that during the week?
The 16th of 2023 would have been a Thursday.
Thursday, so
the
16,
16th and
17.
So that's 2 days. The 20th would have been Monday, the 21st, Tuesday, 22nd, Wednesday, 23rd, Thursday, 6 days.
You were asking to get paid for 6 days?
Yes.
Which you were actually present?
I was actually present and working.
Now, the first 2 weeks you've described to me 2 events that happened within the first 2 weeks. In the second 2 weeks that she worked for you, and we're really talking about 6 days only in the next 2 weeks, because that's all the days that she actually worked. Do you have specific days that she wasn't there?
She's saying she was there, and she never did any of the work that she was hired to do.
Well, that's a different story. Then you should have fired her. But if she was there, she was there.
When she was there, she was talking on the phone and texting.
Well, that's okay. I mean,
That's a lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was at your house talking on the phone.
Yes.
Okay. Now, show me how much you were paid per hour.
At that time, we were paid $17.25 per hour. As of January 1st, we got a raise to $18 an hour.
$17.25 is what you were earning at the time you worked for her.
Yes, ma'am.
Righty. Sarah Rose, you have your computer out?
Yeah.
We're going to do $17.25 times 5. How much?
$86.25. $86.25.
Times 6.
$517.5.
$517.50. Okay. Now, punitive damage for malicious lies to employers.
Yes. She called IHSS, the company that pays us, and said that the reason why she refused to sign my timesheet was because I left the country.
Okay. I'd like to see proof of that.
I don't have that proof.
Well, then you don't get paid for that.
She also verbally attacked me on May 19th.
Okay, so I'd like you to tell me what happened on May 19th.
On May 19th, she caught me outside in Gardens 2, which is in the back and not part of her section. And up until this time, I had never seen her back there. So she was stalking me and found me, and she called me a liar, a thief, and a fraud, and a bitch.
Okay.
And I could not do anything about it. And I was embarrassed because she did it in front of my employer.
Your Honor, that's a complete lie. I walk my dog, and I have a map here of the complex, and I was walking, I do the big circle
Just
first.
tell me what you said to her.
I didn't say nothing to her. She came out and she told me, I want my money. And I turned around and I said, get away from me. She goes, you're going to pay me. You're going to be sorry. I'm going to sue you. You're going to pay court costs. I'm going to make you pay for my attorney. I said, don't talk to me and get away from me. And I kept walking. I never stopped. I never stalked her.
Okay.
I also reported the incident to the office where she lives, and she has more than one incident.
I don't know that either.
That's not true.
Shh. I know that she has to give you $517.50 because whether you were useless working for her or not, your body was there. And if your body was there for 6 days, 5 hours a day, you're entitled to be paid. $517.50, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Because I didn't kiss her butt.
That seems completely crazy considering she never did anything, you know.
I didn't do what she wanted. I didn't jump. I didn't wait outside my car in the freezing cold, risking my health.
And the demands of the job of an in-home support worker is to help with tasks around the house. And she never did any of them. So I don't know what was crazy about that.
Never work for her again.
I think that the defendant was really miraculous. She's had MS for 42, 52, 60, almost 25 years. Yeah. She walks her dog, she walks around the big circle, little circle, and she really...
Just needs a few extra help with a few tasks
probably
around
a little
the house.
extra help with moving things, cleaning things around the house. That's it. Lucky that she lives in a country that has a good government.
Yeah.
He was in need of a loan.
Yes.
I was telling her, you know, you gave me this as a gift.
Can I play a voicemail, please?
Absolutely.
And I don't owe you a goddamn dime, you stink-ass mother.
Aren't you embarrassed?
Not really.
You have a nasty potty mouth.
This is Judy Justice. Bonita Roberts is suing her former friend, Kevin Burt, for a loan, harassment, and personal threats.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Judge, case 3113, Robert versus Burt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Roberts, you and Mr. Burt became friends because you were living in the same community.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, the defendant at some point told you that he was in need of a loan.
Yes.
And you made that loan to him. And what was the amount of that loan?
It was $190.
And he paid you back?
No.
Well, according to your complaint, you had, in fact, loaned him money in the past, and he had paid you back.
Yes, he did.
Okay, and that was $2,000.
Yep, $2,000 one time, $300 another.
And then there came a time in December of last year when Mr. Burt again said that his account was a little overdrawn.
Yes.
And he asked you if you could loan him that money.
Yes, and he would pay me back the following day.
And you did?
Yes. I sent him $190 through Zelle.
And you, as a matter of fact, acknowledged that she did, in fact, give you $190.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that $190 you have not given back to her.
No, Your Honor.
So now I don't know what you guys are drinking, but now you're each suing each other for $10,000. You want money owed for repayment of the loan, that's $190. And the rest for harassment and threats of bodily harm.
And defamation of character.
No, that's not in here. That's in your fantasy world. So let's start with this, Mr. Burke. She gave you $190.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why didn't you give it back to her?
Because it was a gift.
Did you ever give her a gift that was worth $190?
Yes, Your Honor.
Like what?
I'd take her to dinner at the steakhouse. I would buy the dinners. It would be well over $300.
How many times did you do that?
We went to the steakhouse a couple of times.
Okay. Tell me about the phone call that you made to her indicating your account was overdrawn.
Yeah, I called her up. I was trying to get a payday loan. I called her from the payday lender place and told her I needed $190.
And what did she say to you?
She said, okay, I'll send it to you by Zelle.
Okay. Did she tell you when she needed it back?
No, she didn't.
Okay. Now, at some point, she started to ask you for this money, this $190. When was that?
I think it was sometime around Christmas, I believe.
And what did you tell her?
I didn't really tell her anything. I was just kind of like ignoring her, you know, because I'm
well,
like...
she was asking you, when can I have my $190 back, and you were ignoring her.
Yeah, I'm like, this was a gift. I was telling her, you know, you gave me this as a gift.
Okay. Well, a gift is something that you usually buy or give to somebody without being asked. You actually called her and asked her for the money.
Correct.
You know, that would be like Sarah saying to me, I want this particular bag and I don't have money for it right now. Can you send it to me? And I send her the money, and then she's, well, that was a gift because you sent it. I mean, she's done that, but not exactly. Okay, so we have $190. Now, I want you to get from $190, Miss Roberts, to $10,000, and I want you to get there in 3 minutes or less.
Can I play a voicemail, please?
Absolutely, and this is going to be a $9,810
yes.
voicemail.
This is the first voicemail.
Hey, I got your phone call. Don't call me before 12 o'clock in the afternoon anymore, bitch. Like you, I don't work. I'm fully retired. And furthermore, you were calling me about your mother $200. Well, I just wanted to let you know you got your $200 worth on Christmas Day when you hurt my dog and you hurt me. I'm not giving you a dime. So you can kiss my ass, get the out of my life. The way you treated me on Christmas, the way you tried to humiliate me, the only thing you did was you lost your $200 and you lost a friend. I trusted you. And all of a sudden, you went rogue, psycho, mother bitch on me.
Okay, I already told you, you have your $190 and he has a bad potty mouth.
Okay.
So after you got that message from him and he told you, you're out of my life, whatever it was, you had some sort of a bad Christmas, don't call me anymore, I don't want to know from you anymore, you did something, you humiliated me, you hurt my dog, leave me alone, get out of my life. What did you do?
I didn't do anything because I kept getting voicemail.
Just a second. So you didn't contact him again?
I sent an email saying how hurt I was,
just
but
a second.
I didn't call him, no.
Well, do you have the email?
Yeah, I do.
I'd like to see it. So you sent him an email after you got this message. May I see? You have it written?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. Okay. This is a very nice email, Mr. Burt. So far, it's a very nice email. I'm going to read it out loud. It said, just so you can hear how ridiculous you get when you're inebriated, I really pray that you get some help. This has to stop. I have only been a good person to and for you, and you turn around and say these nasty things to me because you don't want to pay me back. I've always been there for you whenever you were in need, loaning you money when you need it. For you to make up a bunch of lies, it truly breaks my heart. and I feel so sorry for you, but I will pray that God helps you get a peaceful, calm space where you don't require liquid courage and possibly keep one good person around you. And she doesn't say anything nasty to you in this email, sir. It says, I will see you in court because I'm not going to allow you to steal money from me. I really thought we were friends. Bonnie, lovely, lovely email. If I got that message from you, sir, I would not have sent you this, except she probably knows that you're a drunk and that she felt sorry for you. On Christmas Day, did you go out and buy yourself a little pint of vodka?
Yes, I did.
And bring it, but shut.
Sorry.
Does it look like I need help from you?
You don't.
Oh, okay, good.
Bonita Roberts claims her former friend, Kevin Burns, refuses to pay back a loan and harassed her. Kevin is countersuing Bonita for filing a false restraining order and emotional distress.
So what you did was nasty. What you did was nasty. Now, it may have clouded your judgment that you did have liquid courage. I don't know what you needed courage from. She wasn't doing anything bad to you. Okay, so far, that's not worth a nickel. It's just a bad potty mouth. You knew he was drunk. He said, I feel sorry for you, but I'm going to take you to court. You already won your $190.
Okay.
Okay? We're getting to $10,000. Now, you say that he threatened you.
He did.
And it's on a voicemail.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to hear the threatening one so far.
Okay.
It's just
I'll play
potty
this.
mouth.
First of all, can I just, a little backstory? I had knee surgery. He threatened to harm my knees.
Okay, I'm
When
listening.
I asked for the money back. And this is what really bothered me.
I just got the notice from Wells Fargo of you begging for $190. I'm going to call Wells Fargo and I'm going to let them know that I don't owe you a dime, you broke-ass bitch. And you better keep your communication with me either by phone or by email. Because if you ever show up at my house, God help you. I'm going straight for the knees.
Okay, got it. Aren't you embarrassed?
No, Your Honor, Miss Roberts started needling me about not being around her, ignoring her calls after I got the loan, which I didn't. I was actually in the hospital after I suffered 3 incidents of cardiac arrest on July the 22nd.
Listen to me.
He's lying.
Shh. You should be embarrassed by those phone messages that you left her while you were drunk. And if you tell me you weren't drunk, that's twice as bad. You understand? That's not the kind of communication that a grown-up adult has with another grown-up adult, especially when you get this kind of an email in response.
Well, in that email,
just a second.
In that email, she stated that I could barely take care of myself.
Well, clearly you can't. If she said it, it's true.
No, it's not true.
Yes, it's true.
Well,
Mr. Burke, Mr. Shh. Okay, so they're nasty messages. She knows that when you left those messages, you were drunk. You know that, correct?
Yes, I do.
And you know that he said, don't ever come to his house, because if you come to his house, he's going right for the knees.
And I was very vulnerable because I had just had surgery.
I get it. You weren't going to his house either.
I wasn't.
Okay. But at some point, you filed for a protective order against
did.
him. And that's his counterclaim for $10,000, that you filed for a protective order against him, and that was ultimately dismissed.
Yes.
As I would dismiss it if I were hearing this application for a protective order. In any event, I don't like the messages that you sent to her, so your counterclaim's dismissed. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you can't hold your liquor, don't drink. If you're retired and you sleep until noon because you're drunk every day, that's not a smart thing for you. And if you've been in the hospital because of cardiac arrest, it's twice as not smart for you, right?
Right.
Yeah, right, unless you can't stop. If you can't stop, check into Betty Ford. Judgment for the plaintiff, and I'm awarding you $500 because I wouldn't like to listen to those messages either. $190 for what he owes you, and the rest is because you have a nasty potty mouth. We're done here. Thank you.
Well, she
Court is adjourned.
should have stopped calling me. She sees me buying a bottle of vodka, and she gets an attitude like, you owe me $190, but you're gonna buy vodka?
I'm happy. I got, you know, I got what I wanted. I just wanted my money back.
I think she was taking advantage of me because of my medical condition.
Of what? What? What would I take advantage of from him? He has nothing.
I had told her before I made those messages to leave me alone, but she continued to call me.
Nothing. He's a thing of the past for me.
I just find it so ironic that in all of those potty-mouthed messages where he's calling her a broke-ass bitch, he couldn't afford the $190 overdraft fee on his own account. So it's just, you know.
That's funny. She was a nice lady.
She was, and I think she expected him to pay her back, and he's just a drunk who had no intention of paying her back.
Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3106, Shackler versus Branch.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Schleicher.
Schleicher.
Okay. You and the defendant lived together for 25 years. Reason that you never married?
No.
Any reason?
Waiting for financial things to come together. And
that was quite a wait.
Yeah.
In any event, this 25-year relationship ended badly, and it is your claim that the defendant stayed in an apartment that you had lived in together. I believe your name was the only name on the lease, but you lived there as a couple together. For how many years?
I lived there since I was 6 years old. My parents were actually the ones on the lease, and when my father passed away in 2007, we moved back in. We were out in our own apartment, moved in, took over the rent.
Because the rent was more reasonable and the apartment probably
Definitely.
better.
Yeah.
Okay. And the breakup was an acrimonious one. And it is your claim that the defendant stayed in the apartment with one of your children.
Yes, my son.
And that he didn't pay rent in the apartment for several months. And because your name is on the lease, the landlord brought a case against you for the unpaid rent.
Correct.
That's primarily what you're suing for.
Primarily.
Because the other part, he's not responsible for. The part where you had to go find, and you went and found a more expensive apartment, well, one of you was going to find a more expensive apartment. Is this a rent-controlled or stabilized?
Yeah, the place that I was in, I was still grandfathered in at 2000.
Yeah, so it was a rent-stabilized, grandfathered in. You were there together, not you.
No.
The two of you for 25 years.
No, I was there with my family. He moved in with his son in 2007, but I was there with my brother and my parents since I was
just
little.
a second. I thought you were together for 25 years.
We were, but I was in that condo for 39 years, since I was 6.
How long did the two of you live together?
Since 2007, for 16 years.
But you were in a relationship before that, so you lived together in that apartment for 16 years.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me the day that you moved out of the apartment when you had this argument.
May 30th was the first day that I left, and I stayed at my mom's house and in my car, and then went ahead and moved out and got my own place July 1st. So July 1st is when I removed all my belongings.
Had you stayed there at all in the month of June?
No.
Is that correct?
I think there might have been a week in June.
Well, if you think that she says no, she says no, and what you may be, she wasn't there. Your son was there?
Yes, he was.
All of June, you were there?
Yes, I was.
So you were there June. What about July? Were you there in July?
Yes, I was.
What about August?
Yes, I was.
What about September?
Yes, I was.
October?
Yes, I was.
When did you move out?
I moved out in December.
December what?
I believe it was around the 15th.
So you were there the month of December, because you don't do half months. You were there the month of December. When was the last month that you paid rent?
I was paid up until September 1st, so it was August.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 months rent that you didn't pay.
Right.
Why?
Well, when Jessica moved out, the property management came to me with 3 weeks to go in the month, saying that they were going to raise the rent $750.
Because you're no longer grandfathered in under her parents or grandparents or whoever lived there. So they were going to raise your rent $750.
Yes.
And they were going to raise it starting what date?
September 1st.
So you said, I'm not paying the increase.
No, that's not correct.
So you just didn't pay anything?
No.
Well, that's what I said. When was the last time you paid rent? You said September 1st. So I'm just curious. If he was going to raise your rent by $750, was going to make it $2,750, and you said, I'm not going to pay the increase.
No, I agreed to pay the increase. We filled out a new application.
Okay, great. So when did you start paying the increase?
We didn't pay the increase.
Okay, so you didn't pay rent, and I'm asking you why.
I had a heart attack.
You had a heart attack on what date?
August 20th.
When did you sign the new lease?
We didn't sign the new lease. We filled out an application. Yeah.
Okay. After your heart attack, on what date did you go back to work?
It was...
Careful, because it's very easy to verify.
3 weeks after.
So you went back to work sometime in September?
Yes.
And you didn't pay October, November, and December?
No.
Why?
Here's what the reason I did it. We filled out an application for a new lease. We agreed to pay the new rent. After this, he comes to me and says, now we need another $3,000 for a security deposit. In all this time, I have 3 weeks to come up with all this extra money on top of the regular rent. I couldn't afford it.
Okay, and then they evicted you, I assume.
They didn't evict me.
You just left.
My name isn't on the eviction.
Shh. Are you still in the apartment?
No.
So you left?
Yes.
In December, on December 15th. That's what you told me a moment ago.
Yes.
But you didn't pay any rent. October, November, and December. Any.
Yep.
Well, there's no excuse for that. You're living in an apartment, you're not paying rent. It's not reasonable for her to pay rent in her apartment, where she's now living, and your apartment. You find that reasonable?
No, I didn't think it was reasonable the way they... I wasn't given reasonable time to come up with the money.
Neither was she. You had a fight.
She chose to leave.
She chose to leave because it wasn't working anymore.
Right.
So you have two choices. Either you leave or she leaves. Without getting into all the bad stuff of what happened, which I don't think is absolutely necessary, this is just a question of morality and justice. So you each had your own obligations. She had to move and find a new place to live that was going to be more expensive than where you are. I assume she paid rent. You chose not to pay rent. How is that fair? How is that balanced, sir?
She didn't pay no rent.
No. She's going to show me proof that she was on the lease during that period of time. The landlord is going after her for the rent money. She's going to show that to me.
Jessica Schleicher is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sam Branch, for unpaid rent and the costs of an eviction.
Now, I'm going to ask you the question again. Does that sound fair and reasonable to you?
No, it didn't sound fair and reasonable that I wasn't given a suitable amount of time to come up with $5,000.
That's between you and the landlord. What does that have to do with her?
They don't have nothing to do with her.
But
I'm not
okay,
on the lease.
Can I see the notice that you got from the landlord?
Yes, there's the eviction against me with all the documents you need.
This is not a signed judgment.
That's not the judgment?
It's not signed.
I think that's the copy the lawyer gave me. So yeah, I might not have the signed copy with me.
Well, you're supposed to bring a signed copy with you. Okay. There's no question the rent was due. There's no question that the eviction proceedings were for money, so that whatever monies are transferred will be transferred to the owner of the condo, because that's to whom it is owed, correct?
The property management company, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The second part of your lawsuit is that damages resulting from eviction and abuse. What is that about?
It was the difference of the rent from the condo to the new place because I was forced out.
Okay.
With police and everything else, I was out a lot of money.
That's not his problem. Somebody was going to be forced out of this apartment, either you or him.
But I'm the one that had to call the cops, and I have police reports, and he's the one that was abusive. I had no other choice but to leave my family's home.
Well, it was your family home. You lived like a family for 16 years. You weren't hospitalized as a result of this incident, correct?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see a doctor as a result of this incident, correct?
No.
You don't have any photographs to show me as a result of any injuries, correct?
No physical injuries, ma'am.
What you are complaining of is that he would talk to you incessantly, wouldn't let you sleep, right? I read it.
There was a lot more than that, ma'am.
There was no physicalness between the two of you that I read here.
There was yelling, spitting, throwing things, and picking up the bed that I was sitting on and slamming it down, and just anything but putting physical hands on me to avoid the police.
Well, he's not paying for your new apartment, and you're not going to pay for his new apartment. Anyway, the resolution of this case is easy: $6,063, and the check will be made payable to property management. Okay, thank you very much. We're done.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't call it living for free. You know, if you're going to treat me like I'm a tenant, then you gotta treat me like a tenant. You gotta give me a 30-day notice.
I do feel Sam owed me some money for everything that I had to spend leaving the place.
You gotta give me all the stuff that comes along with being a tenant, instead of just skipping away.
I wouldn't have had to leave if it wasn't for his abuse, so.
Better to part ways.
Time to take care of me.
You were right when you said you lived together for 16 years. She kept referencing it as her family home, which I understand the history, and she lived there since she was a child. But when you live there with your partner for 16 years, that becomes your shared family home. Like you said, someone was going to have to leave, and someone was going to have to pay more rent. So, you know, at the end of the day, someone was going to have to leave.
Right. And the landlord, the person who is supposed to get the money, will get the money because they're the people who are out the rent.
Yeah.
And he had an obligation to pay rent. He just knew he wasn't responsible for it legally, and they couldn't go after him for it, so he just didn't pay it. No, can't do that. It's not right.
Case number 3107, Murphy versus Beard. All parties, please come forward.
Jennifer Murphy is suing her car renter, Lindsay Beard, for missed payments and damage to her vehicle.
Miss Murphy, several years ago, you were planning to go out of the country. When were you planning to go out of the country?
December 2018.
And you had a car at the time, a car that you were making payments on?
Yes.
That had a loan on it?
Yes.
And what were the loan payments every month?
There were $375.68.
And what year car was it?
It's a 2013.
So it's 11 years old now. And in 2018, you made an arrangement with the defendant, who you knew how?
My sister's client.
She needed a car. You were introduced. You made an arrangement with her in 2018 to rent your car that you both acknowledge for $375.68 a month?
$374.68, and it was in 2020.
It was in 2020?
Yeah, the date was January 5th, 2020.
Is that the date you made the arrangement?
Yes.
And is there a contract for the
There
lease
is,
of this
right
car?
here.
I'd like to take a look at it, please.
Here you go. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so let's read the terms of this agreement. First one is payment of $374.68 via Zelle. Now, with regard to that provision of the lease agreement, you returned the car on what date?
I picked it up on October 24th.
2023. So she had the car 2.5 years.
More like 3.5 years.
And in those 3.5 years, you were out of the country.
Yes.
Part of your claim here is that she failed to make several payments. She says she has all the payments. Have you gone over the payments with each other so that you can check your accounts?
No, I mean, I have my printed Zelle from my bank, and she has a spreadsheet that she was filling out each month that she received a payment.
You have that?
I do, yes.
Yes. And you acknowledge that?
That I had sent her the spreadsheet each month. I also have the emails of the Zelle payments, and I am missing the 8 payments from her, so I'm curious. She never explained that.
I'm not curious. You're going to go outside with my clerk, and you're going to go through these. You don't expect me to go through 3.5 years of car payments, do you? Now, if you don't want to waste my time, we can acknowledge that they were either paid or we can move on to the next action. What's your pleasure?
I don't believe they were paid.
Okay. Sarah, go deal with them. Math is not my strong suit, and this kind of nonsense is not worth my time. Go figure out if there were any missed payments that they can prove, will you please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jennifer Murphy claims defendant Lindsay Beard rented her car for years and damaged the vehicle.
Sarah?
Okay, so there was a total of 11 missed payments that the defendant had no proof that she had paid. However, there were months that the plaintiff admitted where she paid more or double to make up for missing months, which she credited in the spreadsheet that I looked at. So there were a total of 8 missed payments, not including those, makeup payments that she had made.
Did you total that?
I did, totaling to $2,997.44.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm reading the lease, so that was the first thing. So on that, you owe $29.97. Leslie will not drive more than 2,000 miles per month. There's no problem indicated in your petition about that, so that she's complied with the terms of this lease. We'll keep up with all regular maintenance of the vehicle. You have any proof that she didn't do that?
Well, beside my car, when I got it back, it was not in very good condition.
You left it 3.5 years. The car's 11 years old. She had to have changed the oil periodically if she had it 3.5 years. You know, the fact that your car is now older and it was driven by somebody else 3.5 years, there's a certain amount of wear and tear on a car and things break down. Unless you have a mechanic who's going to tell me that you did something to the car, which I assume, are you a mechanic?
No.
No.
I also have all the records of me going and doing
Not
that.
Not necessary.
So.
It's her burden of proof.
Absolutely.
It's good that you have the paperwork as a defense that you took care of the car. Will carry full insurance coverage. Did you do that? There's no allegation that you did not. Will not allow other persons to drive the car. There's not an allegation in here that she did and let other people use the car. Violation of this cause for immediate termination, and that's it. So far, I have $2,997. Now, she returned the car because she came back to the country. Okay, on what date did she return the car?
I picked it up on October 24th, 2023.
And where did you go with the car?
Immediately, I went back to my
house. To your residence?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Did you take the car out again on October 24th?
No.
When was the next time you took it someplace?
On October 26th, I took it to the dealership.
Why?
To have it inspected.
Just a second.
Okay.
My question is, why did you take it to the dealership? Because if you drove it home and there was something wrong with it, you would have taken it immediately to the dealership if you found something wrong with it. You didn't take it to the dealership the 24th. You didn't take it to the dealership on the 25th. Why did you take it on the 26th? Just to check it out?
No, I did notice things immediately wrong with it.
What?
For one, the AC wasn't working, the car wasn't locking.
What does that mean, car wasn't locking?
When I used the fob, it wouldn't lock, it was doing nothing.
It was doing nothing, but you were driving with it. It was just that electrical thing that wouldn't open and close. Did you put a new battery in the fob?
No.
No. That's the first thing I do. When it doesn't open, it doesn't close, these things go, you take it in, costs $5, you put in a new battery and you close it and then it locks. It's not as if the car didn't work. Okay, what else?
The door sensors weren't working as well.
I don't know what that means, the door sensors.
It looks like my car door is always open on the electrical component. So like there's just a lot of weird electrical things going on with it.
You have any proof to demonstrate to me that she caused any of this problem?
So I found out she had a DUI while she was using my car, and she lied to my sister about it, telling her that I knew about it, that she had told me about it, but I had no idea.
But you didn't keep it a secret. She told your sister.
She did tell my sister.
And that's how you met her.
Yes.
So if she told your sister, she wasn't keeping it a secret from you.
Well, she didn't tell me either.
I don't care. But she wasn't keeping it a secret. She told the person who actually brought the deal together.
Well, she lied to my sister also.
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question. Proof that this electrical wonking was her fault.
Well, I had seen in the court documents on her DUI that she was ordered to install an IID, an ignition interlock device, which she did on my vehicle, had it installed and uninstalled. And in that, you have to cut the wiring to...
I don't know if you have to... What kind of work do you do?
I'm a yoga instructor.
Well, unless you're a car mechanic, you're not going to testify as to what they have to do when they install a piece of equipment. By the way, just tell me what month and year you had a DUI.
It was February or March of 2020.
But you had the car for 3 years after that.
I did, yes.
Listen to me. Yeah. 3 years after that. And she is correct that you had to have a machine installed.
I had to have the interlock, yes.
Okay. That if you breathe into something, if your breath smelled from alcohol, the engine wouldn't start.
Yes, it's connected to the battery.
Okay. And you did have that installed. How long was that in the car?
Almost the entire time I had the car.
After
getting arrested. So about a month later after me getting the car, I had to have the installation put in.
Okay. And when did you have it taken out?
Actually, 3 or 4 days before she picked the car up.
Okay. And who took it out for you?
The same company that put it in.
Okay, fine. I'm just telling you that, Miss Murphy, because if you think that you can prove a case of negligence against a company, it's not her. She neither put it in or took it out. Got it? She owes you $2,997. And she owes you that for the missed payments that she can't prove she made, that you say on your spreadsheet she missed, and that Sarah confirmed. Anything else? No. Good. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
Currently, my car's dead. It's not operating because of the electrical damage.
There is no damage to the car.
I do think it's the wiring, and I know it hooks up to the starter because we've been researching it. She's saying the battery, but it's the starter. And it did render it inoperable.
I mean, I watched the guy do it. They go in through the panel, they connect it to the battery, and it's done in 30 minutes.
My car is my car. No one's gonna be borrowing it.
I'm just glad it's done.
Really trying to keep me on my toes there. I know math is not your strong suit, but you also passed that gene down to me, so I find it interesting that you just farm out all the math skills over here.
Well, first of all, you're the clerk. I'm the judge.
Yeah, I don't mind doing it. I'll do it all day long, all day long.
And you figured it out.
I did. No,
it would have probably taken me a lot longer.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, you don't have it here, you don't have it. It doesn't exist, so made it easy.
He gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
I object. He was just watching the dog for me.
He had the dog for 4 months, feeding it, taking it to the vet.
Why would I give him a $10,000 dog?
I don't give a rat's behind.
Dog is good, it's my dog.
I don't give a rat's behind. Do you understand?
This is Judy Justice. Anthony Williams is suing his family friend, Michael Bowers, for stealing his French bulldog.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Hello, Kevin.
Case 3103, Williams versus Bowers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Williams, your case is a relatively simple one. It is your claim that Mr. Bowers, who you knew, gave you a dog.
Correct.
And then took the dog back.
Stole the dog back, yes.
Took the dog back and refuses to return him. It's a male dog.
Yes.
The defendant says you were just supposed to watch this dog temporarily because he breeds dogs and he and his family were moving and they moved into a place where they couldn't keep dogs, but that he could keep dogs. And he says right now he doesn't even have the dog, whose name is Gizmo, because he breeds dogs with a partner. And the dog has been at this partner's house for breeding for how long?
It's been a few months now, ever since I got the dog back from Anthony.
You have to know something. I know something about dog breeding. And I know that a male dog doesn't have to stay there during the course of an entire breeding of the 63 days that it takes to gestate a puppy. Because I know that you modified your answer, and your modified answer to his complaint is, I don't even have the dog and I can't interrupt the breeding of the dog, which takes months, and that's baloney. So I want you to know that I know that's baloney.
Yes, Your Honor. We was breeding the dog with multiple dogs. So we have a boy dog, and we have 3 females. So we breeded with one, and it was like a process. We just kept them together. That's why they...
Now you're going to get him back. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your friend's name?
Logan Jean Pierre.
Sarah's going to find him. Telephone number.
I have it on my phone.
Get it. Get ready, Miss Rose.
Oh, it's gone.
All right. 678.
Now put the phone down. Now tell me where he lives, because he's your partner, so you have to know where he lives.
In Norcross, Georgia.
Okay. Sarah Rose.
Sure.
Where'd you go give this fellow a call?
Sure.
And find out what the status of Gizmo is.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm coming to you, Mr. Williams.
Yes.
So while Sarah's getting that information, this is what your case is about. According to you, he contacted you. He said, can you take care of this dog? Do you want this dog?
Yes.
We're moving and we can't keep the dog. You said yes. When did that happen?
He called me on April the 12th of 2023.
And you knew the dog. What kind of dog is it?
It's a French bulldog.
How much does it weigh?
I think when it's 28 pounds.
So that's called a Frenchie. They're small
Yes, a
dogs.
Frenchie.
They're Frenchie. They're small dogs.
Yes.
Do you have a photograph?
Yes.
May I see it? And you knew Mr. Bowers how?
He's a family friend.
I'm calling in regards to Michael Bowers and a dog.
How many dogs did you have on April 12th, 2023?
I have 2 dogs that I own myself.
Males or females?
Both of them are males.
And your partner, how many females does he have?
I don't really know. The last time I saw was 2 there.
When was the last time you went over there?
I was over there a couple of weeks ago.
Cute. How old is the dog?
He's 2 years old.
Okay. When, for the first time, did Mr. Bowers indicate to you that he wanted the dog back? He said he wanted the dog back for breeding.
That would have been in July, but he was only supposed to have the dog for 2 days.
Just a second. So for a full 4 months, you had the dog?
Yes, ma'am.
Now tell me what happened in July.
Can I go back a little bit before that? The defendant, when he delivered the dog to me, the dog was in bad condition. I had to bathe the dog. I had to take him to get his nails cut. He had no shots, so I had to spend hundreds of dollars taking him to the vet to get his shots, and I have the paperwork from the vet.
I have shots for the dog. The dog already had shots before he got there.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Also, Your Honor, I got extra shots for the dog because when I spoke to the vet for a French bulldog, since they have smashed in faces,
just 1 second.
You asked Mr. Bowers to take Gizmo then because you had the other male. How many female dogs do you have?
These are from 2021. The dog was just born in 2021.
That's the last shots that we had.
Those are puppy shots.
My business partner does the shots himself. He does a lot of...
You know, this is not going to fare well for you. I don't think. Not that I'm prejudging. Okay, so tell me what happened. So now you took care of the dog, cleaned the dog up, brought the shots up to date, and...
And also, he was a 2-year-old dog. When I got the dog, he was not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog.
Okay, so it's clear if the dog wasn't housebroken, the dog was kept crated most of the time. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the person with whom Sarah is now commiserating on the phone, he also keeps the dog crated because the dog wasn't housebroken.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a yes.
The dog is for business purposes.
I don't care what the purposes are. I just want to know how long this 2-year-old little French bulldog is kept in a crate, is what I asked you. By the way, I have to get some stuff in here so that you understand how business this is. You come from Georgia, correct?
Yes.
And we flew you here.
Yes.
And I assume you want us to fly you back.
Yes.
And when you're here, you're going to get an appearance fee.
Yes.
And you want that, right?
Yes.
Good. And so we're going to listen to whatever I tell you, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Because otherwise, you may have to learn to love sunny California so you can earn a bus ticket to go home.
Nah.
Got it?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you know, I don't say anything that I don't mean.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you had the dog for 4 months, and then you called him. And what I gather is you wanted the paperwork for the dog.
Well, what?
Just that's what you said. You wanted the paperwork for the dog because you wanted to breed the dog.
Yes.
And after that call, he said to you, I want to come over and pick up the dog because I want to breed the dog once more.
Correct.
And you let him come and take the dog.
Correct. He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
After the 2 days, did you have any communication with him?
Yes. Actually, the defendant sent me a text message on July the 21st that he wanted to come pick the dog up.
Okay.
He was supposed to have him for 2 days.
May I see the messages,
So in 2
please?
days, I sent him a text message saying, okay, are you bringing Gizmo back today?
Oh, he had a lot to say.
Okay, sit down for 1 second, Sarah.
Anthony Williams claims his family friend, Michael Bowers, refuses to return his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael says Anthony watched the dog, but never owned him.
Before I read this, which clearly says, Morning, Mike, that's you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You still bringing Gizmo today. That's July 23rd. And then July 24th, he writes again, Hey, Mike, you bringing Gizmo today? And then you answer him. And you say, no, they'd probably be done today, so I'll bring him tomorrow.
Yes.
Did you bring him?
No, the reason why I didn't bring him is not his dog to bring. He was just watching the dog for me.
Okay.
Okay.
Now let's hear about...
Yeah, so Logan had a lot to say. He is actually the papered owner of Stitch/Gizmo.
Yes.
And they purchased the dog in March of 21. They went 50-50 on the price, which was $5,000. They each paid $2,500 from a friend of Mr. Jean Pierre's in New Jersey, but said that he was in his care for maybe a week or two. The reason that they were asking him to watch the dog is because Mr. Jean Pierre had 5 dogs in his home. 3 females and already had 1 male in the home with 3 females in heat. So to have 2 males in the house would have been a little rowdy. So they had the plaintiff take Gizmo for that period.
Is that what they told you?
I've never spoken to this other gentleman that she's spoken about, but when I spoke to the defendant,
go ahead.
He said that he felt comfortable with the plaintiff taking the dog when the defendant presented it to him. Seemed like a good enough guy, like he would take care of him, had a nice house.
And he is the registered owner.
Yes, he said he's the only one. He has his last name. He's the only one with the AKC papers. He believed he forwarded a picture of it to the defendant prior to coming here today.
Fine. So from what I gather, he has a $2,500 investment in this dog, plus whatever shots it was, and they've used the dog for breeding.
Oh, twice. I asked how many times they've bred him. He said twice.
Twice. So now I want you to do the following, Sarah. I'd like you to call him back.
Oh, great.
This is a unique situation because I can't resolve this with a third party. Would you ask him if he is made financially whole? Will he agree to allow Mr. Williams to take the dog, which will be used strictly as a pet? You prepared to do that? Otherwise, I may not be able to resolve this, sir. Do you understand?
That's why I'm suing. I do want the dog back.
Just
the
a
only
second.
thing is the...
Do you understand? Which means that you're going to have the dog neutered and he will be a pet.
Yes, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Find out.
And by financially whole, you're referring to the $2,500
that he said he invested. Don't care about him.
Okay.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
If you give me an order and we go back to Atlanta and I have to pick the dog up, I don't trust that the defendant will hand over the dog.
You're going to get the dog from his partner.
Well, Your Honor, I have other text messages of the defendant promising to bring this dog back to me because, at this point...
I'd like to see them.
Yes, at this point, I'm a dog person and I love the dog.
No, I don't believe you, sir.
And why would I give him a $10,000 dog that could just give back to my car?
Just a second.
That don't make no
I
common
believe him,
sense.
sir. You don't
He
give a dog to somebody. You say, could you watch my dog for a week? And you have a partner. So if you have a partner and the living situation prevents you from keeping the dog, it's going to be for a longer period of time.
Excuse me, I have a lease that prevents me from having dogs.
I don't care if you have a lease or something from the Pope. It makes no difference. I believe you that you said you couldn't keep the dog for a while.
So that means I just give up ownership of the dog because
you never had ownership of the dog, sir. The dog belongs to somebody else.
Yes, I do. Me and him co-owns the dog.
He says that he owns the dog.
We co-own the dog. We got a business
good.
together.
That makes it even easier for me. May I have that, please?
That's the business license that we have together.
Yeah. You answered his question. Mike, you're going to bring Gizmo over. You're going to bring him back. Let me know, please. You're coming back tomorrow. And you finally answer him. He is, but he is still with my friend right now. He's going to bring him back soon. The dog's just mated. And then Friday, August 18th, he says to you, what's up with Gizmo? Every day he's writing to you, what's up with Gizmo? When are you coming back with him? And you say to him, Friday, August 18th, yeah, I'm bringing him back before the weekend is over. Good, I miss him. How'd we do?
No dog. He does not wish to relinquish his rights to the dog. He thinks that even if the plaintiff is correct in his more monthly caring for the dog, as opposed to what he said, which was a few weeks, nothing compares to the years since March of 21 that this third party has owned the dog and cared for him and made him a part of his family. So he's not interested.
That's just it, Your Honor. They don't care for the dog. The dog is just left in cages. Like I said, at the time that I got the dog, I had to bathe him, take him to the vet, get his nails cut.
Okay, so let me ask you this question, Mr. Bowers. Your partner says the dog has been with him for most of the time.
Between the two of them for most of the time, within the partnership of either Mr. Bowers or the third party.
Well, you can't be housebroken in one place and not be housebroken in another place. Either you keep the dog in a cage or you don't keep the dog in a cage or a crate.
Me personally, when he's with me, I don't have him in a cage. I don't believe in cages.
That's not true, Your Honor.
You just told me you did.
That's not true.
Whitney, can you go back? I thought he said, when I asked him about crate, do you keep the dog in a crate?
He might sleep in a crate, but he's not there all day long.
The dog wasn't housebroken, sir.
The dog was housebroken. You just taking his word for it. The dog was housebroken. It was at my house all the time.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Just a minute. So at the beginning, the word was crate, not cage, crate.
He did seem to care for the dog, and even when I mentioned the $2,500 and making him whole financially, he did not seem to waver in the slightest.
The plaintiff said he is not housebroken at all to be a 2-year-old dog. You said, so it's clear that the dog wasn't housebroken. The dog was kept crated most of the time. The defendant said, yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect.
Anthony Williams is accusing his family friend, Michael Bowers, of stealing his French bulldog, Gizmo. Michael claims he only asked Anthony to temporarily watch Gizmo.
Mr. Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
This is my conundrum. I'm prepared to rule today, and I'm taking at face value the fact that he and his partner co-own the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I cannot order the partner to relinquish the dog to you. I have no control. If I had the partner under my jurisdiction, if you had in fact sued the partner, I may be able to, but I can only rule on his ownership of the dog, which I am prepared to do today.
This is the first that I'm hearing about the co-owner.
partner.
I thought that,
I assume that this is the first you're hearing about.
Right, and for me, I feel like for me to be made whole, of course I would want the dog back. Like I said, I don't trust him in giving it back, but I feel like the only way that I can be made whole is for him to pay to get me another dog if I do not get Gizmo back.
No, you're going to be made whole by paying all of your bills for the time that you had the dog. Because you did that with the understanding from him that the dog was going to be yours. So economically, you'll be made whole. Now, emotionally, if you can't be made whole because you're not going to get the dog back, I can't order the dog back from the legal owner. But he has to hurt some.
He don't have any proof that I said he have the dog.
Mr. Bowers, I think you better quit while you're ahead, sir. You acknowledge the fact you did that he had the dog for 4 months. Do you want me to read that back to you?
Because my lease agreement does not allow me to have dogs.
I don't give a rat's behind about your lease agreement or any of your personal problems. Do you understand? If there was, in fact, a misunderstanding between the two of you, he suffered by treating the dog as his own, feeding it, taking it to the vet, having it groomed, and because of your misrepresentation, he's going to be made whole. Now, you can make your case to a judge locally, where you come from in Georgia, why you should have this dog, but I can't make a decision without having somebody here who is the titled owner of a property. Now, I want you to tell me, sir, what your vet bills were.
I think you...
Yeah. Maybe I know.
Have that paper. Your Honor, is there anything because this case was like very emotional. I had to take off work from this, and I do have paperwork from my doctor. Because I was worried about the dog.
The dog is good, it's my dog.
But he wasn't good when you gave him to me.
He was up to date with everything.
He was up to date on the shots, but
I'm looking for something here in your paperwork. I have 368, 257.
Your Honor, and I also have paperwork of everything. I bought the dog off of Amazon, his monthly flea and tick, everything. I have all that here.
Must be at least $1,000 there.
If not more that I've spent.
Okay. Well, I'm adding up the vet bills now. The vet bills now also total very close to $1,000.
Can I say one other thing, Your Honor?
Sure.
Before you proceed? Even if I was not to get Gizmo back, I still would want animal control to go over to this address because the defendant
That's very,
videos,
very easy, sir.
The defendant showed me videos of the conditions that the dog was staying in. And when I seen the videos, they were cages in someone's garage of dogs stacked on each other. So they're not taking care.
Why wouldn't you do that before?
I didn't know the address.
We'll do that.
Okay. Once you get animal control, Sarah will be more than happy to get on and indicate to animal control that in addition to you, I would like to see a report.
Okay.
If animal control takes any of these dogs, what I am going to indicate is that the American Kennel Club should add your name as co-owner of the dog. Okay. That will prevent his partner, hopefully, that I've made this adjudication, your name is to be added as co-owner, which means he can't sell these puppies without your permission. Do you understand?
Yes.
Tell that to your partner. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. In any event, we're going to issue that order to the American Kennel Club if that's where they're registered. I'm awarding you $2,500 in your lawsuit against the plaintiff, which covers all of your expenses, and $500 for your aggravation in bringing you here. It is absolutely appalling to me when I have a vision of these adorable little creatures that have no life at all except to breed and are kept in such a way, if it's true, that is so cruel and unkind, all for the purpose of a buck.
Yes.
Very, very sad to me.
Yes,
and I will do anything in my power to make uncomfortable a person who has chosen to do this as a business and not taken care of their creatures appropriately. So that's my judgment. And then I leave it to you what you do in Georgia to see if you can get Gizmo home.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like it's strictly a business to them. They don't care about dogs. They're just about the money.
It was business on my end, and it was pets as well, but we bought it for business, but then we fell in love with the dog, so that's what happened.
The dog needed to not be crated. He just needed to be loved, a family, and trained, and well taken care of. And the most important thing is not sitting in a cage all day.
Dogs was not neglected. He don't have no proof of that. He just have he say, she say. He never even been there.
Well, I'm glad that Judge Judy saw through his lies and all the mess. I'm happy that I brought the case to Judge Judy, and I'm satisfied with the verdict.
I hope it all works out.
What I would hope happens as a result of my ruling today happens, which would be that the American Kennel Club would add the plaintiff's name as owner of the dog, because as between the plaintiff and the defendant, I believe that the defendant led the plaintiff to believe that this dog he was giving him the dog because he couldn't take care of it anymore because of his lease.
Sure.
So as between the two of them, the people that we had here today, I believe that the defendant gave up his interest in the dog. So I've just taken away from the defendant today any issue that he has no rights to this dog in a business.
Okay.
Now, hopefully the AKC will do what I want them to do. Who knows? Things may get interesting when they all return to Georgia.
Yeah, we shall see.
He attempted to slash her with a knife.
Correct. No.
You were taken into police custody.
They tried to charge me with assault with a deadly weapon.
Was this the first time you ever spent time in jail? Of course not. It's clear to me that your grandson has some growing up to do.
This is Judy Justice. Previously on Judy Justice.
Ms. Khan, you are here today because you believe that the defendant is responsible for damage that was done to your car that was being driven by your grandson.
Yes. My first time interacting with him, as I was almost gonna finish crossing the street, he started to honk, and I flipped him off.
And?
The next day is when we really had an altercation.
I was sitting in my car. He came up to me with a knife and immediately stuck it in the window, tried poking me. He kicked the door about 5 times while I was trying to get out.
How did Mrs. Chacon's car get damaged? So as far as you're concerned, you don't know exactly how their car got damaged?
No.
Now, Kevin, would you go and bring in Mr. Kaufman's girlfriend? What is her name?
Kyla.
And now, the conclusion. Lucille Chacon is suing her neighbor, Seth Kaufman, for car damages resulting from a fight with her grandson.
Now you can sit down. I want to talk to Kyla. You can sit down. Kyla, what's your last name?
Steed, S-T-E-E-D.
How long have you and Seth been a couple?
Going on 2 years now.
He has bad temper.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. We're going to go back because you were driving in the car with him.
Yes.
Plaintiff's grandson was crossing the street. Where were you going?
I don't really remember.
Think.
Probably to the store, or like to get something to eat.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You live together?
No. Well, yes.
Just a second. That's either a yes.
Yes.
Or a no, or a sometimes. It's never a maybe.
It's a yes.
Where do you live together?
I live in his car.
You live in his car?
Yes.
And where does he live?
He lives with his mom.
How long have you been living in his car?
A good minute. I'm not sure.
A month, a week, 6 months?
I don't know. Can't think of the time.
Do you ever go to his mom's house?
Sometimes.
You ever stay over at his mom's house?
Sometimes.
Okay. So I want you to tell me what happened on September 15th when the plaintiff crossed the street.
I don't really remember. Yeah, I can't really remember.
Where do you come from? Where do you live now? In what county, city?
Oceanside.
California?
Yes.
How old are you?
22.
So I'm going to try to refresh your recollection so that we can start.
Okay.
Because not remembering doesn't work for me.
Okay.
This young man was crossing the street. You're driving with your boyfriend in his car where you sometimes live. You're a passenger, he's a driver. Okay. He's crossing the street. Your boyfriend honks the horn. He flips him off.
Okay.
Your boyfriend pulls over into a parking lane, puts on his hazards, according to him. What do you say to your boyfriend?
I think I just follow him and...
Followed him where?
To go get back in the car, basically.
That's what you told him. So far, so good. Get back into the car, let it go. When he pulled the car over, did you tell him to let it go and just go?
I think so.
Think.
I just remember... I don't remember.
Okay. You've been with him 2 years, correct?
Yes.
And the place where he lives, his father also lives. Is that right?
Yes.
What's his father like?
He's a pretty nice guy.
Did you ever see Seth with a knife?
No.
Does he have one?
Not that I know of.
Does he have any weapon?
Not that
you ever saw?
No.
What about his father?
His father have a weapon?
Mm-hmm. Ever see?
Not that I know of.
No. Now I want you to go back to back in your memory, to the next day. This is the day after this incident happened in the street. And ultimately, his father was there. Between you and his father, you got him to separate, and you all went on your merry way.
Yes.
On the 15th. Now I want you to think back to the 16th, which is the day after.
Okay.
You and your boyfriend were outside, and you were having an argument.
Yes.
And you walked away from him, and you went to the median in the street.
Yes.
Okay. What was the argument about?
I did something to upset him.
What did you do?
I was talking to another guy.
That he saw, or that was on a text?
It was on a text.
Okay. And so he was upset?
Yes.
Where had you been right before you got outside?
If I'm not mistaken, I think that's when we were at his dad's house, inside his dad's house.
So you were at Dad's house?
And if not, it was either in his dad's house or outside in the car.
Okay. Was he yelling at you? What was he saying to you? I mean, I could understand him being pretty upset. I mean, after all, he lets you live in his car.
Remember.
Right? And now he sees you talking on the phone. What he said is he sees you talking on the phone to texting, probably, another guy.
Yes.
And he's angry.
Yes.
And he has a little bit of a temper that you've seen occasionally. I would say that that's probably true, right? You saw it the day before. So you started to walk away.
Yes.
And did he follow you?
Yes, he did.
Followed you.
Yes.
And what was he saying as he followed you?
I don't remember. I think he was trying to get me to leave.
What do you mean? You were already leaving?
Yeah. Or I really don't remember. I'm pretty sure he was trying to get me to, like, not be around him anymore.
So what was he saying to you? And was he saying it in a loud way or in a quiet way?
Like medium, like not so loud, but like still loud.
So he's following you into the median, and then you're there. So you actually saw everything that happened. Where was the plaintiff's car?
I think it was across the street.
Yes. And so you saw his plaintiff's car. Now he's coming out after you, and he is angry.
Yes.
Go ahead. I want you to tell me next about what happened in the confrontation between Seth and James and the car.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Don't say I don't remember.
Okay.
Let's go.
I really can't remember.
Would you have remembered better if you were sitting in the courtroom and you heard him testify? Would you have remembered better?
Yes.
That's why you weren't here.
Lucille Chacon claims her neighbor, Seth Kaufman, owes for car damages after fighting with her grandson, James.
Now tell me what happened.
I don't remember. I remember...
You do understand, Seth. You do understand, Seth, that because she can't remember, you're going to pay for the damage to the car. You do understand that.
I did not understand.
Oh, well, I'm telling you, if she is so intimidated by you that she can't tell me.
Oh, you think it's
that
him?
she can't tell me what happened on September 16th. That she can't tell me what happened on September 16th, and she's your witness. You're going to pay for the damage to the car. Do you understand? I want you to be clear about that. Kyla, if you can't remember, he's going to pay for the damage to the car.
Okay.
You understand?
I understand.
Now, do you have any memory of what happened on September 16th other than the fact that he was angry that you were texting with another guy?
I remember crossing the street, and then next thing I know is I hear yelling. So I turn around, and they're going at each other.
What does that mean? Tell me.
They're yelling at each other.
Just yelling?
Just yelling.
Okay, and so now you have to watch them. They're yelling at each other.
I get in between them.
Because they're yelling at each other. You walked over to where they were.
Yes.
And physically put your body in between them.
Yes.
Okay. Was James in his car or out of his car?
I think he started off in his car. And
that's correct.
I don't remember how it started, but he had somehow tried to get out. I guess my boyfriend kicked the door, and then that's when he grabbed it. Like, he had got out eventually, and then he had a knife in his hand. James did.
Yes.
And that's when I kind of backed up, but I was still trying to tell Seth to, like, let's just go and leave it alone.
Smart.
And after that, it kind of just ended. The cops had came.
Okay, good. Now you can change places with each other. Okay. Now I'll see an estimate for the damage. Now they have to put a window in the car and take out a dent. What happened when the police came, James?
When the police showed up, they arrested both of us and separated us almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where they put him, but they put me in the back of a cop car.
And then what happened?
And then I was taken to jail. And they tried to charge me with assault with a deadly weapon, but they realized soon that I was a victim and they dropped all charges.
Don't tell me what they realized. You were arrested, and at the time of your arrest, you had the knife with you.
It was in the grass somewhere.
You had thrown it in the grass?
Yes.
Okay. So at the time, I love this job. So at the time of your arrest, despite the fact that he told them that you had a knife, you disposed of the knife. So at the time that the police came, you had no knife.
Yes.
Great. Love this. Okay. Did you have the window? Now you can sit down. Well, just don't sit down. You can stand next to your grandmother. He did not cause $4,000 of damage to your car, madam. You had to have the dent taken out, maybe two, and you had to replace a window, which is a big deal. Do you know how much that was?
I haven't replaced it. I can't afford it. Mm-hmm. The window's still broken. The dents are still in the car. And there's also a scratch right around the car. And
I don't know how that happened.
There's more than 2 dents. There's about 4 or 5 dents in the door.
Yeah, I wouldn't let him drive the car anymore. Do you let him drive the car anymore?
He has to get to work, and I can't always take him.
So the answer is you still let him drive the car?
Yes.
So you drive the car and you leave it outside with a broken window?
Well, we have the window covered. So
with what?
The rain doesn't get in there. And we're using my car right now. We very seldom use the BMW now. It's parked in the back.
Sarah, could you please find there the cost of fixing the window, if you can?
Sure.
So you disposed of the weapon before you were taken into police custody. Were you ultimately let go?
Yes, after 3 days.
So you spent 3 days in jail?
Yeah.
Did you see a lawyer?
I don't believe I did.
You had to have been arraigned.
It was a public defender.
Well, that's a lawyer.
Oh, I wasn't quite sure.
That the person was a lawyer?
Or a public defender. I don't know the difference, to be honest.
Public defender is a lawyer. Who does it cheaper. But I want a lawyer. I don't have a lawyer. I have a legal aid.
I see for a tint glass, but it doesn't break out besides taxable parts and labor, but it doesn't break out for...
See if you can look up replacing a BMW small window, Sarah.
Okay.
See if you can find that, because that's what he's going to do.
Actually, I think there's a line item here, rear door stationary vent glass, remove, replace $133 at the very bottom, the last line item, if you want to just take a look. And then there is an additional tint glass. Here, I'll just circle it. I circled it for an additional $75.
Your Honor, may I speak?
Mm-hmm.
He also put a dent in the back of in the trunk with his knife.
He didn't have a knife.
He did have
no.
a knife.
Maybe. But so far I have no proof that he had a knife. I know he had a knife.
Okay.
I know he had a knife that he was smart enough to dispose of before he was arrested. Do you understand?
I understand.
Very
that.
good.
Lucille Chacon claims the defendant, Seth Kaufman, refuses to pay for car damages after starting a fight with her grandson, James.
What I'm telling you is he was smart enough to dispose of his knife before he was arrested. Do you understand? If the police had found the knife on him, probably would have been a whole different story. Was this the first time you ever spent time in jail?
No.
Of course not. Immediately prior to this incident, when had you been in jail before?
About a week.
For what?
Domestic violence.
Against whom?
My ex-girlfriend.
Great. What happened with that case?
She attacked me, so I smacked her once, and then some neighbors saw and called the cops.
Mm-hmm. Now, that was about a week before. Immediately prior to that?
That was it, the domestic violence and then assault with a deadly weapon.
Two things?
Yes.
It's the only time that you've been arrested?
Yes.
Really? What about you?
Well, I didn't get arrested that day.
No. Prior to September 16th, when had you been arrested immediately before?
Never.
Never?
I had been detained before. But
You've been what?
Detained, where they'd sit you on the curb and stuff, but never arrested. Me and my girlfriend were having a spat outside. We got detained because the neighbor said we were too loud, but we weren't arrested. We were just talked to, told to quiet down, and then we all went on our way.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this, Ms. Chacon. You got to stop thinking that he's an innocent victim. Do you understand?
Yes.
He's 19 years old, right?
Yes.
How old are you?
74.
Ever been arrested?
No.
I'm 81. Never been arrested. 26. Never been arrested. I don't even have to go on this side. You got the gist of what I'm saying to you. He's 19. He was arrested twice within 1 week. Doesn't that tell you something?
We've
Either
talked
he's
about it several times, yes.
We talked about what?
About him staying out of trouble and just concentrating on working, which is what he's doing now.
Okay.
And he did have the money to buy that car. He had worked a whole year putting money away for the down payment on the BMW.
And?
So he's very responsible. And also on the police report, it was mentioned that they believe he hit the window with the back of the knife, and that's how he cut his hand.
Oh, I'd like to see the police report, please, before I make a decision about how much your grandson is going to contribute to fixing the car. Because both of these characters acted inappropriately. You would agree with that, Ms. Chacon, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Perfect. So that they should both bear the responsibility. One, it's really Dumb and Dumber. Oh, so the same police officer who arrested you this time arrested you in the domestic violence case?
Yes.
Let's read on. How come neither one of you told me? Stand up. Over there. Did you tell the police that he tried to stab her with a knife?
Yes, I did.
How come in all this conversation that we had today so far, we've been at this for 40 minutes, I never heard from you that he tried to slash her with a knife?
I didn't want to talk out of turn. I was waiting for my turn to talk.
You idiot.
There was a few things
You're idiot.
left out.
So far, I have to tell you what you've told me about yourself, that you got out of your car because someone disrespected you, right? That you went over to him because you had a big fight with your girlfriend about something else. That you told me. The most important thing that's in this police report is your claim that everybody else denies that he attempted to slash her with a knife.
Correct.
That you forgot to tell me.
Yes. Okay. Let's all forget it and didn't have the time to.
Okay, I'm finished with this case. I don't have to read it anymore. It's clear to me that cross your hands.
Sorry.
It's clear to me that your grandson has some growing up to do. First, you should get him take the hair out of his eyes. He'd be more successful. He could see where he's going. Second thing is, he's going to pay for half the damage to your car. And at most, the damage to your car is $1,000. So he's going to pay $500 because all I'm charging them is $500. Do you understand?
Yes.
We're done. Thank you very much. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500.
This court is adjourned.
Goodbye.
I'm happy with the judge's decision. I think that James was equally, or if not more, responsible for what happened that day than I was, so I'm glad that she made him at least pay for half of it.
I respect that. I respect her decision.
I should have been better about my anger. I don't need to lose my temper like that.
I mean, as the judge said, I could have murdered him. Those are her words.
I think that I was acting a little bit stupid those 2 days. The next day, I thought about it a lot. Like, I didn't need to do any of this.
I was simply going to work. I don't instigate fights.
People carry guns. A lot of people carry a lot of other illegal things that they can just use on you at any time, so.
My words were, I don't want to fight you, and when I showed him my waistband with the knife, he didn't want to fight anymore either.
Basically, just gotta check my ego.
Just keep doing what I want to do.
This whole thing could have been avoided if 2 young men just checked their egos a little bit. Got way out of hand for literally no reason. No reason. Walking a little too slow to cross the street.
I think that it's a very deep pathology. Those 3 young people is a very sad pathology. Not sure what her issues are, but the 19-year-old looks like butter could melt in his mouth until he opens his mouth. And he's clearly got his grandmother sort of a little bamboozled.
What started off as 2 young employed people who thought it was going well.
It went south fast.
Yeah. Looks like a job won't save everybody, but...
Better be unemployed and a nice person than employed and going down a very negative path.
Yeah.
All 3 of them.
Yeah.
All 3 of them. Very sad.
Great.
Noah Joyner and Harland Hendrickson are suing their former employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Seat, please.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a
After losing my jewelry business.
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
Well, that's what you signed in your complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. Anyway, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater, among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending in a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride Weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
I just called the theater's number, and he answered.
Okay, so you weren't calling him, you were just calling the number.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked him, can I come and sell my jewelry at your theater? When was that?
That was Wednesday, June 16th, 2022.
Okay, and you were having some sort of an event?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Joyner come and set up his jewelry booth?
They did, in fact.
Were they charged for that?
No, I did not. I just simply offered the space. They kind of told me their backstory and that they were having financial troubles, and I was trying to do a good deed for the community.
Okay, so you were not charged for the space?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you went up there on what date to sell your jewelry?
We started Thursday night, June 17th, 2022.
When you say we, is that you?
All 3 of us, yes.
Okay, so did you sell any jewelry?
A little bit.
So not much, not enough for the 3 of you spending a day on the 17th. And then how did it come about that you sought out a job from Mr. Ricks? Because you did seek a job. On what date did you ask him if there was any work?
Thursday night. Thursday the 16th.
And what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to bartend, open, close. That's not accurate.
I'll get to you.
And
what were you supposed to do?
And run the concession stand. Bartend, close, open, and run the concession stand.
During what hours?
4 p.m. that day till 12 a.m., 1 a.m. that night. Could not really remember.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you weren't selling your jewelry at that time?
I was going off and on. So anytime he had called me for a different job, I would take that. Sorry.
So the answer is you were doing both.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were doing your own business and doing whatever task Mr. Ricks asked you to do.
Yes.
That was on the 16th. And did he pay you for that work?
Yes, he ended up
And
paying
just
us.
a second. And how much did he give you?
Gave us $264 for that weekend.
Not we.
I gave me $264 that week.
Did he work that weekend?
Yes, we all three worked that weekend.
Doing what?
Everything.
Well,
we
Mr.
opened.
Hendrickson is not suing for any wages from him other than for the painting that he did later. I'm asking you, what did you do for him and when and how much did you get paid?
I did opening, closing duties for him. I ran a bar.
For how many days?
4 days, Your Honor.
4 days.
In the beginning, but I did pick up more stuff whenever he called me for more opportunities. So he would be like, hey, we have jam band tonight. So I would say, okay, I could work.
Okay, so you worked, say, until June 20th, you said, for 4 days, and then you would work after that period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you stop going to the theater for the purposes of doing anything for Mr. Ricks? Month and day?
Oh.
One of the things you're supposed to have, Mr. Joyner, when you come to court, and if you're suing for wages, is you're supposed to have it right here, right in the front of your brain. What date you started, what date you stopped, what hours you worked, what you did. That's what you're supposed to have. Do you understand? Okay. Mr. Ricks, on what date was the last date you saw Mr. Joyner at your theater doing anything?
Saturday, June 25th.
So it would be a fair statement that certain days you saw him between the 16th of June and the 25th of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told me about the 16th that you started working part-time because you were back and forth between your own business and doing something for him, for which actually he gave you free space to sell your jewelry. Now, when you go someplace, you usually pay for space to sell your jewelry, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that because I've had hundreds of cases involving people who rent space in a theater or under a tent or in a yard so that they can sell their jewelry. He gave it to you for nothing.
Yes.
And you're back and forth doing little errands for him on the 16th. Like what? 16th, while you were selling your jewelry. Tell me what you did.
We worked the jam band for him that night.
Not a we. I don't want to hear a we.
I worked the jam band that night. He has like a jazz band that comes in and performs.
And what do you mean you worked?
I worked the concession. I opened, closed, bartended for him. Anything that he was calling me over to do.
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me.
No, I can tell
That's a little too loosey-goosey for me. Okay, let's go. What did he do, if you remember, on the 16th?
On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, that's when they had their jewelry set up. He did not work my concession stand at all. He did not work for me that time at all.
That's not
true.
He
started working.
Don't speak. Do not speak. Do you see I asked you questions? He was quiet. Now it's his turn to speak. Now you have to be quiet. You understand?
He worked Sunday, June 19th from 9 to 2, which was 5 hours. That was brunch. He worked June the 22nd. They were late. They arrived at 3:12.
You said they arrived.
Both of them came that day.
On the 20s?
On June the 22nd.
22nd.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the first time that both Mr. Joyner and Mr. Hendrickson came together?
To work for me in a theater capacity, yes.
Okay. And that was June 19th?
No, that was June the 22nd. But actually, I misspoke. I apologize. They both worked June 19th for brunch. They both worked June the 22nd. On June the 24th, he had a text meltdown, and then he came to work and worked 5 to 9. I have their hours exactly.
5 to 9, and that's just Mr. Joyner or both of them?
They both came on June the 25th, Your Honor.
And worked from when to when?
On the 25th, which is Saturday, he worked from 5:20 to 10:30. He passed on the concession opportunity where he could have made more money.
No, but he worked doing what?
He trailed me. I was trying to teach him managerial type cash in, cash out, et cetera, and the business situation of the theater, because that's what he proposed to me that he was educated to do. And so
you mean managing a theater?
Yeah, just kind of helped me with open, close duties, overseeing that tasks are done by the other employees, et cetera.
Okay, so it sounds as if he and Mr. Hendrickson worked for a limited number of days.
Correct.
How many days in total?
In the total project, which is painting.
No, not
just the
painting.
theater. Just the
just
theater.
in the theater.
Joyner worked 4 days at the theater, and Harland worked 3 days at the theater.
Okay, and how many?
4, I beg your pardon.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last day of work, there was the 25th of June?
Yes, ma'am. At the theater.
I'm talking
18?
about only at the theater.
I think he worked 18 hours, just at a quick glance here.
18 hours during the 4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hendrickson, how many hours did he work on? You don't have anything in front of you, Mr. Hendrickson, so I assume you have nothing. No physical evidence, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, good. How many hours?
Just under 12, actually.
Say 12 hours. So one worked 18 hours, one worked 12 hours. Do you have any data to indicate that those hours are wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
And Harlan Hendrickson claimed their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay, how much were you paid, Mr. Joyner? Because part of it is your wages that you're requesting for working in the theater. How much in total did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$264.
That's for the theater work.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much, Mr. Hendrickson, did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$204.
Sarah, do math for me, would you please? 18 into 264 and 12 into 204. Now, on what date, Mr. Joyner, because this is where it gets sort of fuzzy to me. So far, this is what I'm getting, that the three of you were trying to start a business that was marginally successful in selling jewelry. So far, do we agree on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And as part of selling your jewelry, you approached the defendant, and it was really a cold call. You called a regular number, not Mr. Ricks personally, and told him your story. And he said, well, if you want to come down, I'll give you free space to sell your jewelry. And that was within his theater area.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that was very nice of him. And you worked for him, and he showed you the place, he showed you the books, he showed you, you started to do other things. Now, at some point, this is where I go a little fuzzy with you, Mr. Joyner, and maybe you can help me understand you. So you have someone who's been nothing but nice to you so far. On what date did you file a complaint with Alcohol and Beverage Control?
That was July 5th, 2022.
So let me figure this out. So you worked for him at the theater until June 25th. On July 5th, is that what you told me?
Well, after the 25th of June, so we had kind of like a weird period where we were trying to figure out if we still wanted to finish the apartments for him. And
No apartments. We haven't gotten to the apartments yet. I'm going to get to the apartments because he asked you to paint apartments. You went over there, and that's another part of your lawsuit. Just a second. Sarah Rose, how much did Mr. Joyner make per hour?
$14.60.
Minimum wage.
And Mr. Hendrickson
It's 11 in Arkansas.
would be 17 an hour.
And he made 17 an hour.
Correct, for 12 hours at 200.
But there was no
Those
actual.
hours are not correct.
There was no actual documentation. Like we did not have a clock in, clock out. But the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have
Just
no
a second.
data. We
Just
have
a
no
second.
data.
You have no data.
Right.
He does.
But there's no it's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to keep track.
We're not the business owners.
Just a second. You want
Of
the
the
money.
theater.
Right now, he's paid you more than the minimum wage for being around. I mean, the theater ran for how many years before they worked for you for 6 days?
Been about a year and a half. I bought it during COVID.
Okay, and this was your first time working in a theater.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you had no fund of information. He wasn't paying you for expertise. He was paying you for those few days, and you were following him around, closing a stand, whatever you were doing, and you were paid more than the minimum wage, which is, I assume, more than you made selling your jewelry for the 3 days you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I'm still going to wait for this answer, because at some point after you stopped working for him at the theater, and after you had mulled over some information that you thought you had acquired while you were working for him, I want you to do a step-by-step why you contacted the authorities, because he does have an alcohol license, right? I assume if you have if you contact, don't look at each other. Just look at me. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
Agree.
Well, so alcohol beverage control. So what information, sir, did you give alcohol beverage control that caused the investigation?
Your Honor, he was not the one that called them. I was.
We both called. So what happened during the time that we were working those 4 days, he would serve other people alcohol. He would get on our asses about IDing people, how to sign the papers for ABC, everything. And I made sure to take a picture of the number. I didn't take a picture of the whole document itself.
What are you talking about? What document?
The ABC paper. Whenever we had to sign the paper saying that if we didn't ID someone and the ABC came in and found out about it, we would be fined and we would be held responsible, not Chris. We had to sign those papers.
Okay.
For that stuff.
So you signed the papers.
But during that, after we signed that, we noticed Chris was still giving out free alcohol to people, pouring it, wasn't even checking people's IDs. So I called the ABC and I said, I think there's suspicion that he's giving minors alcohol. Because there were people there that were 19 years old that were coming up to us saying, oh, well, yeah, we're 19, but we're cool with Chris and stuff like that in ways. Like they had a way with Chris or whatever, friends with Chris. We just started working there. We don't know the regulars. We don't know what the life is like.
I'm just trying to think of why you would do that for somebody who was, forget whether I believe you or not, forget the loosey-goosey of what you just told me. Maybe he said,
We actually have a recording that he admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol. Because he said...
And? Just tell me, and? I want to know why you called them on July 5th. You were no longer there. Did that have to do with the painting? Was that before or after you started painting?
That was after we started painting.
Of course it was after you started painting. Now, so let's go to the second part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit involves the work that you both did for him. You have an apartment complex, Mr. Ricks.
Correct.
And that apartment complex contains how many apartments?
20. I bought it as a rehab.
And
it was completely vacant. And
at the time that you asked them if they wanted to paint it, it was vacant, all 20 units?
Correct.
Tell me, how did you approach Mr. Ricks or you about this house painting job?
We were trying to get away from all the stuff that we were seeing and hearing at the theater. So we asked if he had other jobs for us, and he said he had apartments that needed to be painted last week, and that if we could get in there and finish them, great.
Okay, now I'm going to come back to what you just told me. You just told me that you saw things at the theater that he served somebody that you know who was 19 alcohol. And that was very distressing to you. So distressing that you said to him, do you have any other work for us?
It wasn't just that
just a second.
instance.
Just
no,
a
ma'am.
Hendrickson claimed their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay. Did he take you over to paint the complex in handcuffs? Did he take you over there in a van? Did you ask him for additional work?
He's the only person really in Hot Springs, Arkansas that we felt like we could relate to and feel comfortable working for.
I asked you a very simple question. Give me a very simple answer. Did you ask him for more work?
Yes.
And did he say, I have an apartment complex that needs painting?
Yes.
And did you agree on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of the last person that you did painting for? House painting.
I did it for my parents when we built our house, but that's...
Very nice. I also painted a room once in my dining room when I was 24 years old. I actually thought I did a pretty good job. I would not hire myself out as a house painter, but because I painted my parents' living room when I was 12. So the answer is you had
no... The reason why he was asking us to paint because he couldn't find someone else to paint for him because he wasn't paying people.
I didn't ask no to paint.
Shh.
That's correct.
Just a second. Sir.
I was not asked to paint.
Sir.
No.
Mr. Joyner, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. And then you went, and now I'm speaking. You were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. While you were there, working at the theater, you did nothing about it. Zero. Even if it was true, you did nothing about it.
We didn't want to lose our jobs at the time, Your Honor.
You didn't have jobs at the time. You stopped working for him on the 25th of June. You didn't call alcohol until July 5th, you said, so you were no longer working for him in the theater. So it didn't start to bother you, really. June 22nd, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, 29th, 30th. all the way up until July 5th.
The ABC report was not just filed by me, and it wasn't just on July 5th. There was also another instance where it was filed earlier, but that was with them, and there's no evidence about it.
Just a second. You filed July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're going to tell me what happened with the painting, because you finished the painting kerfuffle happened in July. Is that right?
Right.
And it was after the painting kerfuffle that you called alcohol beverage.
Yes,
after the painting kerfuffle.
Well, it was
So that-
during. It was during.
What?
It was during, kind of, almost.
You're getting the feeling that
It
I'm
wasn't
not
just
sympathetic.
me that
You're
filed
getting,
the report
you're
with
getting.
ABC.
Well, just a second. You mean one of these other people who was also
Harlan
jobless?
filed.
I don't care.
So we shouldn't have-
Nobody
we
was
shouldn't have
filed.
reported it at all.
No, but
So we shouldn't have
no, I'm
reported it?
trying to get to your motive, sir. If it was so abhorrent,
My motive? I have no motive.
Speak,
I am just owed
don't try to speak
work
over
for.
me. Don't try to speak over me. That
No, I'm trying to
doesn't
fight for what I'm
work.
owed.
So far, you're not owed a thing for the theater. Now we're getting to the painting. I'm just trying to see what motivates somebody. And I'm not excusing the fact that if Mr. Ricks serves alcohol to minors, that's not a good thing to do. He can get into real difficulty. They conducted an investigation as a result of the calls.
Absolutely.
All I have to ask you is this. Do you still have your liquor license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was it ever revoked?
No. And I've had multiple in the state of Arkansas.
So you're not owed any money for the theater. Now we're going to get to the paint. When did you start painting in the complex? Date.
June 27th, 2022.
6/27. Did you paint there 6/28?
Yes.
Did you paint there alone or with Mr. Hendrickson?
Mr. Hendrickson.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint on June 29th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint after June 29th?
No, Your Honor.
So you painted there for 3 days. Is that correct?
Actually, 5 days that I was there. I started on the 23rd.
I was there for 3.
And did you work the 23rd?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th.
Just
7 days.
23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So you worked weekends?
Yes.
That's not.
Did you work weekends?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th, 7 days.
Well, 7 days. Just a second. Pay attention to me. 7 days includes a weekend,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. Did you work
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not Sunday.
I'm going to go back to you. Did you work Saturday and Sunday?
I worked the morning of Sunday, and I left 3 hours
All right.
after getting there.
Okay, so forget Sunday. Now, how many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Let me understand what you just said to me. You don't know how many hours in each day, but you calculated them together and came up to 52 hours. Would you repeat what he said to me? Because it's mind-boggling to me.
He said, I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
How do you calculate all
sorry,
the
I
hours?
have anxiety, Your Honor. I
Let
just
me
need
ask
to be able
my
to
question, sir. How do you calculate up to 52 when you don't remember how many hours you worked each day?
Looking at the text messages and seeing when I got there and when I left, because I texted him when I opened the doors and when I locked up.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically.
What?
Technically, yes.
What do you mean technically yes?
Because they're not completely correct. I didn't text him right when I got there, and I didn't text him right when I was leaving. I texted him when I got home or after I had started.
Okay, let's go back.
To be continued.
Hello, xin chào các bạn nha. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn tô màu bức tranh có hình một căn nhà này. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ tô đám mây màu xanh. Mình tô đám mây xanh này. Ở đây có 3 đám mây xanh. Tiếp đến mình tô mặt trời màu đỏ nhé. Mái nhà cũng tô màu đỏ luôn. Những căn nhà đầu tiên là mình tiếp theo mình tô đến những cái quả núi đằng sau màu xanh này. Hàng rào màu xanh. Những căn nhà thì mình sẽ tô màu vàng các bạn nhé. Mình sẽ tô màu vàng cho căn nhà của mình này. Bây giờ thì mình sẽ tô, cái này là phần đất, nên là đất thì mình sẽ tô màu nâu các bạn nhé. Tô màu nâu vào phần đất. Tô màu nâu này.